So, recognizing that we're all also in slightly different parts of the world, I think Gabriella might be winning on the time difference side of things. You're in Ecuador, aren't you? Sorry, so it's probably quite early there at the moment.
Yeah, it's 30 in the morning, so I'm super tired.
Oh, all right. Well, hopefully by the time we finish, it'll be about midday, and you can go for an afternoon nap. So we'll move on through. Yeah. So this is the rough plan for today. I know that I hate doing this because I know there's lots of information on there. The main thing we want to say is that we have regular breaks. We don't want you staring at the screen all day. We know that people are probably a little bit kind of tired or fatigued from Zoom. I appreciate it's just been the way that things are in the world. So we do have regular breaks. Please kind of in and around these, if you need to go grab a drink, take a break, anything like that, please make yourself comfortable, because ultimately you'll get a lot more out of this if you're actually feeling comfortable and not there going, oh, I've got to wait until this time to go grab a drink or anything. It's absolutely fine. So please do just make sure you look after yourselves throughout the course of the day as well. So I think for most of you, you're probably familiar with the team. I think for a couple of the new faces, I'll just introduce us all very quickly. There's five of us who make up the Essex Startups team. There's myself, Alexa, and Christian, and we are joined by James and Magda, who are our entrepreneurs in residence. We're kind of a fairly new team. We actually all joined I joined the university back in 2000 and 19. I had to think then. With, was it 2019? 2018? Oh God, I can't remember.
19.
19. Thank you, Magda.
19.
We've just done so much as a team in this amount of time that I've kind of forgotten when I actually started doing this role. But we've kind of very much focused on creating events that aren't about us talking at you. It's about us talking to you for a very short amount of time to convey clear points about kind of what we're hoping you can take away from this particular session. It's about breakout rooms, it's about activities, it's giving you a chance to talk and learn from each other, giving you that kind of vital time to actually hear how people interpret the information we present in different ways. So really it's designed to get you to think about kind of the fact that you're not the only student and or graduate at the University of Essex who's thinking of starting a business. If you are on LinkedIn at the end of today, what I would encourage everyone to do is to post their LinkedIn profiles into the chat box and everyone connect with each other. Let's start building networks. As a team, we're working on some networking events for next year where you'll get a chance to meet other student and graduate business owners. So we're looking to kind of build this type of event and this type of activity. And if you also want to meet other students who are like-minded, there is the Essex Entrepreneurship Society as well, formed by a group of students who attended a lot of our events last year. So there is plenty going on. There is plenty still sort of to be done as well. And if you've got any ideas about other things we can be doing, please do let us know. But to kickstart this weekender, I am going to try and get those kind of creative thought waves moving. This is my infamous picture round. So the team that I'm part of, we run a quiz every few months, and my picture round has become world famous, dare I say. These are ways to try and get you thinking about words and plays on words and the English language and things like that. So don't worry, these are not intimidating. They just have to kind of unlock that creative thought process. So these are called rebus puzzles, and the information that you need is always in front of you. So there will be nothing missing. Or there'll be some things missing, but everything that you need is right in front of you. So I'm going to want to give you an example. So on the left, you can see the word sand, and it's in a square, which is a box. So if you saw this on the slide, the answer I'm looking for would be sandbox. So you might want a pen and paper to write your answers down. Or an example on the right-hand side, you've got the word sailing. it's above the letter C, and there are 7 C's, and that would be sailing on the 7 Seas. I don't know if that makes sense. If it does, oh, Neoma just got it. I love that reaction. She's just like, yeah, she's about to sort of score very highly in this quiz, I think. So does that make sense? Can you see that the information you need is going to be right in front of you? Would anyone like to ask any questions at this time? All right, I'll tell you what, we're going to kickstart. I'm not going to say this is an easy one because I think it's very subjective. But I think this is probably one to kind of get you warmed up. So I'm going to give you a minute on each slide. So here we go, the first one. There are 10 in total. So this is question number 1. Looking at some of the facial expressions, and imagine we're suddenly going to develop a series of internet problems as people just drop out now. All right, question number 2. I should probably point out Alexa's looking really confused. She's seen all of these before and she should know the answers. So I think that's even more concerning.
I don't think I've seen this one. I don't know what it is.
Might have been absent for that one. Yeah.
All right. Question number 3. The worst thing is you're going to hate me when you see the answers. I can see MTEX turning her head like this just to kind of sort of see whether or not she gets a slightly different perspective on it. Don't worry, this isn't a test. It's just designed to see if we can get you thinking in a slightly different way as we kind of start today. Question number 4. I'd like to point out that I think Aru should do quite well because they've got 3 people attempting to solve these. So, you know, they've got collective brain power there. So, oh, they're shaking their heads. Apparently there's no brain power on that end of the laptop. So I'm going to give you a clue for this one. Look at where the number is. All right, question number 5. I bet you're all thinking that my quizzes must be rubbish now. That's what you're probably thinking, isn't it?
Is this what we've got to look forward to on the 15th? Because I'm going to last.
So yeah, we've got a Christmas quiz that I'm doing in a week and a half's time, and this type of challenge will be something that features. So yeah, Alexa will probably start practicing now between today and the quiz. All right, question number 6.
This is rubbish.
Thanks.
No, it's just like I there's like one or two so far. That's didn't mean it to you. Sorry, I didn't mean that. It's just in.
I don't know how to.
My brain just doesn't work like that. I don't know. I've always struggled. Every single quiz we've done, I always like, oh yeah, Alexa, you do that.
All right. Question number 7. This is probably the hardest one, I'd say. And looking at Alexa and Magda's reactions, and actually, you know what? Just reactions everywhere. I think this icebreaker will be retired after today. I don't think we'll see this one ever again.
What happened to Pictionary?
What happened indeed. You'll be pleased to know we do have some other icebreakers today and tomorrow, just designed to keep you on your toes as well. I will say this one's probably the hardest one out of all of them. All right, question number 8. Hey, I think Alexa just got one. Just remember what I said, all the information is in front of you. I'm not sure that's helped. I'm not sure that's much of a clue. Oh, so I should also probably just say, so good morning to Abel and to Juan, who've joined us as well. Sorry, didn't see you join. So lovely to have you with us this morning. It's probably, if you didn't hear the beginning bit, this is probably making no sense to you too. So, all right, question number 9. I am so glad we're recording this session today as well, because I just want to go back and watch everyone's facial expressions.
I think I've got this one. I think it just takes a while for your brain to click into that way of thinking. It's like a magic eye once you get it.
I'm not sure what you mean by that way of thinking, because what you're saying is it takes your brain a while to think like Andy.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
which is not actually the compliment that you thought it was when you started to say that.
Yeah.
All right, and question number 10, the last one of the picture round. So hopefully what we're going to do now is we're going to move into the answers, but before I reveal the answer, if you think you know what it is, you can either put it in the chat box for each slide as we go. Don't put all of them at once, Joe. Just like question 1, we'll go through it that way. If you think you've got it, either put it in the chat box, put your hand up and unmute yourself, and we'll go there. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to tell anyone how many you got or anything like that. This is all just secret to us. So question number 1, anybody that's not a member of staff, I should probably say, anyone think that they've got this one? Hadil has got it. Yes. I'm not sure I should say you give yourself a point, Hadil. There you go. Did anyone else get top secret? People shaking their heads? No. All right, let's look at number 2 then. Anyone get the answer question number 2? Yep, so I think you've got, I think you're getting there. You're going to hate me for this. So obviously the number that was missing was 1. and it was no one understand. I can see her deal is like, I feel safe that there's actually kind of probably distance using the internet between us at the moment. I think if we'd have done this in a room, I'd probably be a little bit fearful for my safety at this time. Do people see where we're going with this? Yeah. This is far too much hard work for a Saturday morning, isn't it? Anyone got number 3? I'm going to give you some points for U-turn. So obviously that was it. And what we're looking for is you missed the turn or missed U-turn. So close. I'm happy for Feng and Hadil to kind of have half a point for those ones. Question number 4. Oh, Feng is on fire. Look at this. This is the person you want in your quiz team. Did anyone else get question number 4? Well done, Abel. Well done, Hadil. Some people thinking that they wish they'd never signed up for this morning. I'll take Francis's smile as a yes. All right, question number 5. Oh, I think you were almost there, Francis. I'm going to say Hadil and MTEX were there, but Feng, that is an excellent interpretation. Again, very good. It was think outside the box. That's what we were looking for. All right, question number 6. Anyone get question number 6? I feel like I should ask you to unmute yourselves because the deathly silence is just kind of making me really panic now. Feng, it appears we think the same way. Well done. The answer was headquarters. I'm not sure that's a positive thing. In fact, I think the team would say that's probably not a good thing, but well done. All right. I'll tell you what, we'll move through these really quickly because I can see people just like, no, never do this again, Andy. All right. Anybody get this one? This was what I think was the hardest one. Go. Ooh, that's a good one. Not quite. No, it wasn't that either, MTEX. So you really, once you start doing these and you see how it works, you can start to get it. So this is the word get, and it's going upwards. This is obviously the word go. So it's get up and go.
Nah, I don't accept this. Nah.
No? All right, we've got a revolt.
No.
All right, we've got a mutiny in the ranks. I'll tell you what, I'm going to move through these next ones really quickly because let's just, anybody get this one?
What is it? 4 into 2 is equal to 8, number 8.
Number
4 words, funny.
Oh, well, Hadil and Feng have got it. It was too funny 4 words. All right, question number 9. Anybody get this one? No. So if you read the words backwards, it would say to front. And it is back to front.
I actually got that one.
Yeah, I think that was the one that became very obvious you got, Alex.
Yeah.
All right, and the final one, which I'm sure you'll all be glad to hear.
Oh, no.
No,
Yes.
that's the right word. Feng's just put in the chat box. Anybody got any thoughts on this one?
Oh, I remember now. Oh, I see it now. Sorry.
I think Feng's just given everyone the clue.
Because of things, yeah, scrambled
It
egg.
was scrambled eggs.
I just
So-
said like, ding.
I think you'll all be very pleased to know the picture round is over. And I think by a show of hands, who thinks I should never do that again? It was just going to be really useful. Never do that. All right, there's actually a few more hands up than I was hoping for then. All right, that will never make an appearance at one of the weekenders again. I think I'll probably take the next weekender off as well, because it's clear that's it's not what you want. It's not what you want from your weekender, I can see now. All right, I'm going
Good
to
way to wake up, I think.
maybe we should have done this in the afternoon. I think maybe we should have
I think
done.
it did its job though, because we are all now awake. We're all engaged. We're all like, oh my god! Like, even if we didn't get it, it got us thinking.
So, all right. In that case, I'm now going to hand you over to Alexa, who is going to kickstart this morning's presentation with a question for you all.
Yes, so now that we've all got our brains thinking to some extent, mine's probably the least, what do we all think a business model is? We're going to start by looking at business models for the day. So any ideas from you guys, what you think a business model is? Like, please turn on your mics and say, or post it in the group chat if you've got any ideas of what you think that might be.
You can sort of raise your hand or just unmute yourselves and...
It's the organization of resources and the process to create value.
Mm-hmm. That's a really great answer. Anyone else got any further to add to that?
Isn't a business model how you plan to implement like your ideas, or how to like organize the basis of what you're trying to make?
Yeah, really good. Yeah. So both of you have pretty much got the rough idea of it. Obviously, a business model involves quite a few different things, but if we look at the next slide, we can see that Gassman's original model, so this was the first attempt at kind of describing theory, and what we can do now is to start to explore the conclusions that Gassman came to. From his research, what he found is that any good business model must be comprised of these following elements. So firstly, you've got your value proposition. And your value proposition is the way you intend to create and capture value for your customers with your product or service, like you said. It's making that product or service available to people. So what is it you are offering that can add value to people's lives above that of your competition? Another element of it is a profit formula, or a revenue model, it can sometimes be called. And this is how you intend to make that revenue, by delivering on your value proposition to your customer base. So you start to think, why is your idea profitable? Why will people pay for this product? How will you get that revenue generated by your value proposition? And then finally, you've got what's called the value chain. And this section highlights how you intend to use, like Feng said, use your resources and your key processes to help you deliver this value proposition profitably to your customers. So along with all of those three elements, as you can see in the middle, all of these sections are intrinsically linked to who your customer is. So how you are adding value to their lives, how you're creating revenue through this additional value, and how you will deliver your proposition effectively and profitably to your customer base. Gassman's work has been built on quite a lot further since this, with the introduction of the business model canvas, which many of you may have already heard of, and James and Magda will go into more detail about later. So that kind of sums up the rough idea of a business model. After Andy's gone through a few case studies, we'll then move on to look at the different types of business model available, and in this instance it's all about a cow. So I'll let Andy do his case studies first, if you want to fit that bit in there, and then I'll carry on with the cows.
Yeah, so what I would actually say is you should hopefully have all received an email from Christian with the case studies in. So I've split you into teams. We're going to be putting you into breakout rooms later this morning. But Feng, Mtex, Neoma, Aru, and Juan, you are going to be working on Cracknell's coffee beans. So when we put you in your breakout room, that is the case study you're going to be working on. And for Gabriella, Hadil, John, Francis, and Abel, I'm sorry, Christian, but they are going to be working on Gordon's Gopher Sanctuary. So check your emails. You've got a little bit of detail about the case studies there. And when we put you into your breakout rooms, that's what you'll be working on your business model canvas for this morning. So I'm going to hand you back over to Alexa, who's going to work on what a business model might actually look like.
So yeah, in this instance, we're going to take, like I said, take a quick look at the different types of business model that there are out there available to everyone, and that you may be considering for your own business. And these examples use a cow to highlight all the potential value propositions and forms of revenue that could be produced from one primary asset, or not, as some business models might show you. So the very first one is quite straightforward. It's the asset model. So basically, it's all about the asset. So this type of model is where you would buy a calf, for example. You would nurture that calf all the way up to adulthood, and then you have this cow that you can sell to other people for profit. No additional avenues are usually explored when it comes to the cow. You just buy and sell cows for a profit. Very straightforward. So the next type of model is the direct sales model. In this instance, for this example, you own a cow and you produce and sell the milk that it produces directly to the public. And this can be via a channel that you own or rent, or a channel that you've decided is best for your sales. You may even go door to door to people. They may come to your farm to purchase the milk. There's no real necessity for a fixed location. You can just sell your product anywhere, and your product is the milk that the cow produces. When you think of direct sales companies, you could think of, I don't know if all of you or any of you know the company Avon, which sells like makeup and beauty products and things. And they're an example of direct sales. So an individual will sell items, they'll come to you door to door to make a profit for themselves with the items they've got to sell. So thirdly, we've got the freemium model. A lot of you may have heard of the freemium model. It's blown up quite a lot in the past few years. So in this instance, you own a cow and then you give away the milk for free, which may seem counterintuitive to start with. But what you do then is you charge for the container to take the milk away in. You may also sell space on the carton for advertising as an additional revenue stream to selling the containers. So an example of freemium models would be things like Spotify, or if any of you are addicted to some mobile games, Candy Crush is a huge example of freemium models. So with Spotify, as you may know, you get plenty of free content. You can listen to the music you want, but you have to put up with the adverts in between. And I think it's a limited catalogue of songs as well, in contrast to the paid version. So the same with Candy Crush. The original basic version of the game is free. And again, consumers can pay to get those additional benefits. So it's all about giving the basics for free and then adding onto it and charging for those parts. The main point to take away from this model is people can be persuaded to part with their money in many different ways if the incentives are right. So if you hate adverts, you're going to pay for the premium Spotify because you just don't want to listen to them. Or if you're like me and you get so frustrated that you've been stuck on a level 180 for like 3 weeks, you might just buy some gems to whiz you through to the next round. So the people with freemium type models are relying on you, maybe getting slightly frustrated with the free version and therefore spending some money to make it slightly better. So business model number 4 is the subscription model. So in this instance, you own the cow. You sell the milk for about £1.80 a carton in the shops. If people decide to subscribe to your service, they'll get it for £1.50, making a saving, but also this guarantees like a long-term commitment with your customers. So this results in guaranteed and reoccurring income for you that you can slot into your forecasts and know that this money is definitely coming in. And what the customers get out of it is a lower price overall for them and kind of a guarantee that they're going to get that milk at the time they've decided to have it. So a great example of subscriptions are things like Netflix, but also, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember magazine subscriptions like I do. So you can go down the shop and you can buy a Grazia for £5 in the local shop. But if you want to sign up to a year's worth of subscription, that price can sometimes even halve. And it's usually delivered directly to you. So you cut out the effort of going to the shop, looking for it, queuing, buying extra. You just sit at home, your Grazia is delivered, and you can enjoy it every month of the year. And the main point here is the magazine, so therefore the product, is exactly the same in both settings. The customers are ultimately investing in ease and access and lower prices overall. So the next model is membership. Quite similar to subscription, but in this instance, you own the cow. You sell its milk to shops, but your members get this extra level of special access. So in addition to getting the milk, they might be able to learn about the cow, understand her daily routines, the path that she walks around the farm, who feeds her, what her children are called, things like that. So you can access additional extras. They could even be additional products such as cheese and yogurt, cream. You can even go on day trips to feed her if you like. So all of these additional values are added at a price. Whatever the customer wants, they can have, but you're going to charge them for it. So a local example of a membership would be, I hope some of you have been able to experience the wonderful Colchester Zoo, which is just around the corner from the uni, really. So everyone is welcome to go to the zoo at a set rate. But if you sign up to a zoo membership, not only do you get your ticket at a reduced rate, you also get access to a whole bunch of other stuff that regular attendees don't get. So you'll get things like discounts in the outlet stores, discounts at the restaurants. You even get reduced rates for like when friends and family want to attend as well. So yeah, the whole point of this model is there is the basics, but when you're a member, you get all of these additional values added to your product. So model number 6 is the franchise model. In this instance, you don't actually own a cow. What you own is the brand of the dairy products, the processes and the systems to sell cow milk to other people. So in this instance, people with cows want your help and they will come to you to help them basically exploit their own assets at a price that you deem necessary. So the person buying the franchise...
I didn't get that.
Oh.
Could you try again?
No, Siri. Sorry, Siri's just interrupted me with her own questions. Yeah, so an example, of a franchise model is something like McDonald's or Subway. So what McDonald's do is sell the right for you to operate their brand, basically. The person who would buy the franchise walks straight into a fully operating space with equipment all ready to run. But most importantly in this aspect is they get the benefit of taking on the reputation and the brand loyalty that has already been established with this customer base. So you're walking into pretty much a given, but you will pay a lot of money for that. So number 7, moving on to loss leader, again, might seem counterintuitive to begin with, but can be great in the long run. So in this instance, you own a cow and you sell its milk for £1.80 a carton. But what you do is focus a lot on your brand and the values behind that brand and the ethics that drive your business forward. Your customers are buying into that. They buy into what you stand for. They buy into the way you treat the cow. They buy into the way you package your milk, things like that. And because they like you as a brand so much, they are then willing to buy your yogurts and cheese at £30. So you're selling the milk for £1.80. It's the same as the competitors out there. You're not really making much headway with that. But because you built up this solid loyalty from your customer base, you can then charge them quite high prices for any additional value. So yeah, again, this model relies on attracting customers with these low price deals who are then likely to make up the difference by purchasing the more expensive items as well, because they are loyal to your brand. So business model number 8 is on demand. Again, we've all probably got a lot of experience with on demand at the moment. So in this instance, you own a cow, and then you decide to build an app for your customers to order it when they need it. So they don't have to go to the shop, they just order it on the app. I need milk, bring it to me now. And then you charge them for that instant delivery or on that on-demand kind of action. And the key to this model is getting something immediately, or rather quicker than you would if you purchased it through regular channels. And it's usually centered around online platforms in these instances. So for example, I use quite often the online retailer, Georgia Asda. It's obviously not just online, it's also based in the Asda shops as well. But this is an on-demand provision in that aspect. So you can wait for a certain item to appear on the shop floor, but that could take weeks due to stock circulation. You may miss out if they only stock 2 sizes and they're all gone before you even get there. So if you want it now, you can order it online, but there is that additional cost to it to meet your demand. So again, the products are exactly the same, but you might notice a slight difference in price, or if not, there'll be like a delivery price or a reservation price, just to give you that on-demand product, but again, at an additional cost. So in these instances, it often gets delivered to the store for collection or straight to your home. But again, you are paying for that additional benefit to you as a customer, the ease of access, things like that. Number 9, I think might be my favorite business model for a cow. And sorry, Magda, if I pronounce this wrong, it's the Zifferblatt model. Is that right? I did German at GCSE. It was a very long time ago. So in the Zifferblatt instance, you own a cow and the customers don't pay for the milk. They come to your farm and drink all the milk they want for free. But what you do is charge them for the amount of time that they have spent with the cow or on your farm. All this model completely focuses around time spent rather than quantity consumed. An example of this, well, sorry, hang on. Back when I was younger and alcohol was probably more publicized than they try to now. Sometimes you could pay like a tenner to get into a club and it was all you could drink. But a nicer example is a cafe called Zifferblatt, and they've got outlets based in Coventry and London. It's kind of like a pay-as-you-go shared workspace. So again, you will pay for your time to be there and they will provide you with free tea, free coffee, snacks, Wi-Fi. In some instances, they put on extracurricular activities and events for all their members to enjoy. But you pay per minute that you are there. They've got a further restriction where you can only have a maximum of 4 hours there, because that's how maybe they've decided to manage their turnover of people and therefore money. And the hope here is that the revenue you make from people's time will more than cover the cost of the outgoings of keeping them happy, basically. And then finally, business model number 10 is something called crowdsourcing. And in this instance, again, you don't own a cow. What you've done is convinced a lot of other people to help you buy a cow, which is really good work if you can do it. And so basically you raise your profile, you raise your visibility with the help of these investors or funders, and then your deal that you make with them can be anything. But for example, you give your first batch of milk away for free to these investors that helped you get where you needed to be. This model requires a lot of input from other people, usually investors, and it's always with a promise of a special deal to ensure that they back you. So similarly to if you've ever seen things like Dragon's Den, where business owners will seek funding from a dragon, but rather than straightforward investment where they're like, yep, take some money, do what you will, the dragon requires something in return. They want something out of that deal that they will benefit, and it's usually a share in the profits and in the business. But again, that deal can be anything you want. You could say you get the first batch for free, you get the first batch for half price, you get 1 bottle a month for free. So yeah, crowdsourcing is all about getting all of those other people on board to help you make your idea a reality. And that kind of brings us to the end of the business models for cows. I hope it's all made sense. I really enjoyed the cow version of business models, because I think using one asset can really help you understand the differences between the models because you're focusing on one specific thing. So yeah, that's me.
Lovely, thank you very much. Just wanted to ask before we go into a break, has anyone got any questions or anything they'd like to ask Alexa after that section? Okay, if we go to Neoma first, then we'll go to Hadil and then Feng.
Yeah, so while you were talking about the different models, I was thinking about maybe some models could lead to waste, or some models are not maximizing some of the assets. Like for example, direct sales where you only sell. I think you own the cow and you only sell the milk. So what happens to the cow? You're only focused on the product. So I was thinking that, okay, is it possible that you could combine some of these models in real life, or there are other ways that you could maximize other bits of the model and stuff like that?
I can see
Yeah,
James is
cool.
unmuted.
Oh,
James, you go.
No, it's fine. No, but generally, yes, you can. Is the answer to that? Is these models are, and I would encourage everybody to look within their businesses for different revenue streams. There are clearly. This is just a reflection of a kind of structure. You can hybrid models, you can add them, you can create sort of kind of other models. These are just 10 out of potentially 50 plus business models that I know of that exist in the real world. And it's just a question of trying to figure out within your revenue streams how you can create more than one layer of revenue within all of that. So from the point of view of, the point of view of actually sort of kind of saying, okay, here's a membership model, right? But then there are opportunities to drive additional revenue for upselling, for additional revenues, maybe for different access to a different part of it. So you might have a membership which is a very low subscription model, and then you may have another model which says, okay, well, this gives you additional access to additional resources. Okay, so every business model is tailored to your needs, and ultimately, if you've got values like sustainability, they can be very, very much added in, right, to the output of that particular business model. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. We'll come across. Sorry, if we go to Hadil first, and then we'll go Feng, and then I think it was Aru. Sorry.
I just wanted to ask if there's a business model that is sort of based on a pay what you can basis, or would that just be donations?
It is, and it is. Yeah, there are business models that are pay what you can, and then it's a contribution model. Most social enterprises work on primarily getting a driver of activity within the business, which is commercial, and then that supports the activity of the other aspects of the social delivery that people are trying to do. There are hybrid models where you've got potentially, if you go onto a website, you might find there's a donate button, right, for a particular cause or a particular aspect of what you're doing. There's clearly, if you go into an environment and you give people a range and you say you can pay between 0 and 100, whatever you can afford for a aspect of it, and we will tailor something to your particular needs, then very much that's reflective of the understanding of what your market sector is, what your customers require, and ultimately how you can do it. The risk to any model like that is it's unpredictable. Okay, so it's very difficult to manage from the point of view of income and cash flow and various things like that. So it could be that you've got 0 to 100, and for the first year everybody pays £25, right? And you might think, well, that's good. Now next year I can build my business model around £25 per customer, but hey, look, we're going into a recession, so now everybody wants £12.50. Right? Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden your resources you've built up to, you've created a vulnerability in your business, you've gone out and bought resources to deliver at £25, and now people are paying you £12.50. So that means you have to deliver less, or or you're operating at a loss. So be aware, by handing over the criteria to the customer, that you sometimes create additional vulnerabilities into the business. but it's absolutely fine to find ways to subsidize and keep things low by building engines around commercial aspects of what you're doing. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hadil. Go to Feng next, and then we'll come to Juan.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, if there's anybody in the team with real experience with crowdsourcing specifically, like, and anyone that actually done crowdsourcing before with an idea. Because I believe like I took part in society events a lot in uni, and they had a crowdsourcing model where if let's say the music society, we wanted to buy a guitar and it costs £100, we could enter the uni crowdsourcing program. I think it was called One Click or something, which is basically all you have to do is raise £50 yourself, and the uni will double it. They will give you the additional £50 to get that guitar for. So anyone have actually crowdsourcing experience?
Well, I've had experience with crowdsourcing in like high school, where we were trying to raise money to like buy like heaters for the pool, but it was not really necessarily like something that was outside, like for outside community. But like, yeah, we did a crowdsourcing event, so we would like do have donations and also have like sales in order to like boost our funds. Yeah. And so we also had like people donate for us, and then if we double the instance where you said doubling the amount, the school would pay 10% of what we have made up from the donation funds we opted to make. Yeah.
So I've had experience. So I've not raised money myself on a platform like that, but I have experience of seeing customers do it, and I'm working with people to get them through that particular process. So I have kind of relationships with various sort of kind of crowdfunding platforms already. When I was in a charity, I was a trustee of a charity for about 4 or 5 years, and we did crowdsource funding through that model. We used a crowdfunding platform to deliver that. So people like Cedars and everything else like that, those sorts of guys will take you through the process. But you're right about Click on the university campus. And I always say this to people involved in the university and the university entrepreneur area. Crowdfunding is about marketing, right? It's not about the money that you raise. It's about raising the visibility and the eyeballs on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. You, as in anybody with an essex.ac.uk email address, has a natural, if you like, a natural community around you, right? That you need to understand are your potential marketplace to test and develop your ideas. So using Click is an absolute, it's a godsend to raise the visibility of what you are doing and reaching the audiences that you want to reach. Okay, so you can do it from that. And again, the difference between Click and, say, for instance, Cedars or any of the other kind of funding or crowdfunding platforms that you might get involved with, Kickstarter or any of those. Click is a free to use service for university. So it doesn't do it. And as you quite rightly said, Feng, 50% of what you raise, the university will also add to. So it gives you the opportunity to put together a project, an aspect of a business that you need to do, subject to visas and all the rest of it, that gets covered. But everybody, I think, yep. So absolutely, Alexa just put a link in the chat. But the thing about it is that it gives you that opportunity to put together a project, create something of interest, build a community, put it out there, and get feedback. All right, get feedback on why or whether it's getting traction. And that's the key thing before you even go down the line. So I would just encourage everybody to use that particular facility.
Okay. Were there 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll go to a break?
Was it Juan and Aaron?
Yeah, here. Okay, I want to ask you about the on-demand model, because you made like an emphasis saying like you imply in additional cost when you choose that model. And for example, if you produce the products, well, I think that you don't have this extra cost, or what you say that we have additional cost when we choose that model.
So on demand, again, might necessarily be that you have the product, but you don't necessarily own the technology to be able to sell that product on a demand basis. So it might mean that you need to license in the software. You may need to develop kind of an extra aspect to your business, to your team, to actually be able to deliver something. So there will be additional costs around using that on-demand type feature. So it's not just that you are kind of holding the product that you're selling to the customers. You still need to find those models. Now, even as an example, if you're trying to sell through Amazon, Amazon are going to take a percentage of your sale. If it's an app, you still would lose part of that kind of cost for people purchasing your app through Apple Store or Google Play. So the on-demand still comes with costs associated with it, because although you own technically kind of what you're selling, the method to market requires an additional investment. So it's not always as straightforward as just owning it and then kind of having that direct model access. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you. No, I was asking that because, well, I say, for example, if I produce the product, well, you can even make it. For example, if you do a customized product, you can just create it, and if you have the machines, well, you don't incur in additional costs. You are saving because, well, you can send when people want to buy that product, and you don't have to have like many stuff. So I was just thinking about that.
I think that's one of those markets that's been disrupted by things like drop shipping and print on demand recently. So I've worked with customers before in my copywriting business who have done a print on demand. So they've not had a physical set of printers, but rather what they've done is they've teamed up with printing companies around the world so that customers wherever they are could go on. So it very much depends on the nature of the type of business you want to run and operate yourself. Again, you have that costs associated with assets, but also, again, thinking about things like depreciation, having to replace those assets, things like that. So again, it very much comes down to your personal preferences to the type of business you want to run. How much ownership and control do you want? And there's kind of conversations there around how much risk do you take on by doing things yourself versus outsourcing. So I think that's kind of a whole separate conversation. But as a whole, though, that direct model is very much around still having to partner with key people to actually help your business model to actually kind of make that delivery possible in the first instance.
Thank you, Andy.
Just conscious of time, I'd like to give everyone a chance to go grab a drink or sort of take a stroll and a break from the screen. So what I would suggest is if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat box. And then what we'll do is we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll go through any questions that you've kind of raised there. And then we'll go into the next session of the morning. So if we could all please be back for 1:45, so a 10-minute break. We'll get underway with the next part of this morning's presentations, which is going to hand over to Magda. So we'll see you all in 10 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, I'll tell you what, we will kickstart the next part of the morning, and I'm going to hand you over to Magda.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to obviously this this weekend and yeah, we're going to use the next tool. So we've just learned about the business model or the business models that there are, and the next bit that we're going to talk about is actually a tool called the Business Model Canvas, and that is it's a tool that we use quite often in our business or in any startup, especially when you're just starting out. It's a really useful tool to use. But it's also when you are already on the way, it's always good to come back to the Business Model Canvas because it helps you guide those conversations, those thinkings around all the areas, all the aspects in your business, the driving forces that create value. And that's kind of the big header for this canvas. Yeah, if you want to go to the next slide. So this is how it looks like. I'm sure most of you have seen it already. If not, this is just a canvas. It's just 9 building blocks. You can print it out in any size as you want. It's created by a company called Strategizer. And it's literally, like I said, it's putting a flash to the bones to any idea. But even if you're already in business and you're working in your business, it's always good to step out of your business and kind of look at the bigger picture. And that's where the canvas really, the strength of the canvas really comes in. If you were to put a dividing line, I didn't put it on this slide, but if you were to put a dividing line in right in the middle of it, so you're halving your value proposition section in it, and down between the cost and revenue structure, you can literally, all the stuff that's on the right-hand side is kind of, if you compare it to a theater, as James always does. So that's kind of your front end. Those are the things that everybody can see. Those are the things that, thank you. Perfect, Andy. Those are the things that you can see on the right-hand side. And all on the left-hand side, that's your back end. That's where all the driving force for your front end is coming into place. That's just as a little tiny sort of comparison of that. But we're going to go through each of the sections now. The first one that we always like to start off with is the value proposition, just because this one is kind of a good tool to really think about what is the value that you're going to drive for your business, for your customers, and how are you, if you want to go to the next slide. So I found all these scribbles by this guy, this bloke, Steve Blank, and I love these scribbles. So I just put them on here. But so we normally start with a value proposition just because it's kind of the driving force of the entire business, your engine kind of in that sense, that you want to, what is actually the problem or the need that you are solving or creating, or what's the word, matching to what your customer has. And it's all about satisfying that need, but even going beyond that satisfaction and actually delighting your customers. That's kind of who your customers are. This is all, the business model canvas is very customer centric, and it's all about the value that you provide or that you create for that customer. And it's not so much about just your idea or your product or your services. It's about the value exchange. So that's the first sector that we always look at. The second one is the customer segment. And the customer segments and the value proposition are very much interrelated, and that's why there's a separate canvas for that, and we will look at that tomorrow. But the customer segments are literally, who are your customers? They might be classified in different segments. Maybe you have multiple customers. Maybe you have like an end consumer, so a B2C, business to customer segment, but you might also address business to business. So you might have business customers as well. So it really comes down to who are your customers, segment them in similarities, what their issues are. Think about their frustrations and their pain points, and what is it actually that you can solve for them. But obviously that's then the value proposition, addressing those issues. But it's first in the customer segment, you kind of think just who are they and why would they buy that product? What are the things that they want to get from you? And then the next section are the channels. So these are the channels that you address your products and services to get them out there. There are 5 different kind of, if you want to cluster your channels into 5 different sort of subheaders. They are the awareness channels. So they are mostly about your marketing, your sales, or how are actually people becoming aware of you. It's your website, your social media, all of the different marketing strategies. They are under kind of your awareness channels. Then you have the evaluation channels, which help you to understand, help your customer to understand what you actually offer. So there has to be some kind of evaluation process in it. Then the purchase, that's the actual sales channel. So how are they purchasing this from you? Are they buying it via your website? Are they buying it via drop shipping, via Amazon? Are they, is it wherever you deliver or like distribute your what's the word called? Like if you're selling that carton of milk, where are you putting it? Is it on your website or is it on in the supermarket? So those are obviously, again, your kind of purchasing channels. Then you have the delivery channel. So if you were to do it on your website, how are you going to deliver this? You have to have kind of some distribution method. So do you have a warehouse and therefore use, have a company that you outsource the delivery for, or whatever it is? So you have to think about your delivery channels. And then the last kind of sector of channels is the after sales. How do you support customers in the after sales? Do you have kind of a customer service team that answer any question? Are you able to also upsell? Maybe you have a newsletter mechanism in place, or a newsletter campaign where you, once they made a purchase, they stay in contact with you, and therefore, you raise awareness for other things that you're selling. So those are your kind of channels that you need to think about. The next sector are your customer relationships. So here you have to kind of think about your customers in the sense of, what kind of relationship do you want to have with them? Is it very close, or is it a very automated system? Is it an online service that you are providing, or is it a face-to-face service, or is it an online physical product versus something like an online product that you ship out? So there is minimal personal interaction. What are the things? So you kind of need to think about that. Comes also with your marketing, obviously. What relationship do you want to create with your customers to keep them and to also grow them? So that's kind of where the driving force of the relationship comes in combination with the channels. It's kind of a loop of where you want to raise the awareness. Then they make a purchase. You need to kind of keep them in the loop of repurchasing, potentially upselling later on, or whatever, or just keeping them as fans and loyal customers, maybe with a subscription model, for example. But you also want to grow. So you need to kind of think about what is the relationships that you want to create, and how would you deliver on those relationships. The next one is the revenue models, or the revenue streams. So how are you actually making money? So it's the value that your company is providing. Sorry, Andy. Thanks. Oh. It's the value that your company is providing, and what are the customers are paying for. How are you evaluating that? But then also that you could have multiple revenue streams, like we said with the cow. I mean, there are 10 different ways of how to sell, or how to revenue. What's the word? Revenue drive the cow. It's literally about, are you going to have just one product? Are you have multiple products? Are you having kind of an after sale where you upsell a different service afterwards? Are you providing something for free initially and then you sell later? Or how are your revenues? How are you making money with your customers? And obviously pricing comes into that as well, but it's at this stage, I think, when you're starting out and an idea, it's just about thinking, okay, how can I monetize my idea? How would it work? Is it a membership model? If it's a membership model, then you have obviously, your membership drives, but maybe within that you have different tiers where they can upgrade to a higher tier at some point. So you have that as well. But then maybe on the side, you're also selling additional one-off products or something like that. So you just think about how you can raise revenue in your business. Right, now we're going to go back and a little bit more into the back end. So key resources this is what are the most important assets required for you to make your business work? And these could be different assets. So whether that's financial assets, physical assets, intellectual assets, or human resources. So it's just a question of what resources do you currently have that you can put in there already, or plus what resources do you still need to make your business work? So how can you, that value exchange that you want to drive for your customers, those products and services that you want to create to satisfy or delight them, what do you need? What is the minimum requirement that you need in terms of resources to get that delivered? Then the next bit is the key partnerships. So we don't really like the word partnerships because a lot of people think it's it's a legal sense, but it's not in the legal sense. Think of it more as a collaboration. What are your key collaborators that you can work with to make that business model work? What especially when you're bootstrapping in the beginning, you might not have as much funding in place. So a lot of times it's thinking outside the box of who could you partner up with, that there is a win-win situation. It has to be a win-win situation. It's not just buying a service, outsourcing a service to someone that, you know, for money. It could also be a collaboration in, maybe you can collaborate with a distribution company initially, because they want to grow their business too. Maybe they're in the starting places as well and want to build reputation in their portfolio. So that could be a win-win. Maybe if you have something of social impact, if you have a social impact business that you want to work with charities on a win-win, or that you work with communities or community centers, or just thinking outside the box of, sometimes it's also like, we always think competitors are like, oh, no, we must not interact with our competition. But sometimes actually it really depends on your business. But sometimes interacting with a so-called competitor, where you are different to them, maybe you can collaborate on something. You know, it might just be project-based, but that's sometimes also a thing to think about. So it's just about, especially when you're bootstrapping, think outside the box of where you can create those partnerships or collaborations. And then you have key activities. These are kind of, what are the most important things, or the minimal activities that the company must do to make the business work. So again, it comes down to those minimal, sorry, Andy. I know that, I don't know why I put 2 slides in there, but anyways. So it's literally thinking about the activities that you need to drive, or that you need to perform in order to make your business work, in order to actually deliver again on that value proposition. So that could be in production, you know, that could be like it says problem solving, or your supply chain manager, but also marketing wise, like raising awareness, actually attracting customers. What are the activities that you need to do in order to attract customers, but also in order to actually deliver what you're promising on your value proposition? What do you need to do? What is the, and there could be a number of things. Like it also drives, so here's how it all kind of is related. As you can see already with all of the other ones, it's always coming back to the value proposition, back to your channels, back to your customers. It's always making all of these sectors are all, or sections in the business model canvas are all interrelated. And if you change one thing in one, like if you have an additional value proposition, you need to address it in all of the other sectors or sections. Sorry, I'm getting confused here. But like, for example, if the key activities, you also need to think if you have resources or partnerships, what are the activities that you need to do in order to create that collaboration or perform, like deliver on that collaboration. But like I said, everything relates with one another. And then last but not least, you have the cost structure. And the cost structure is yes, these are obviously what are the costs to actually operate your business. And these could be obviously fixed or variable cost, but it's all the drivers that in order to perform your business, in order to actually trade at any point, there are some certain costs that you always have to consider, like insurances, accounting, you know, website hosting, website development. All of these are cost items, but all of these are also driving obviously your revenue, and they're driving your value proposition. So you need to again think they're much more specific on your value proposition. How can you, when you deliver on your value proposition, what are the costs that are associated with delivering on that, or with your key activities? Or if you need more resources, how much is, you know, cost structure is all about like, and at this stage, you don't need, if you are just an idea, you don't need to think or in exact numbers, but think about the line items. What are the line items that you need to kind of consider? Because again, it comes down to, is your business viable? You need to prove that your business is viable by looking at your revenue streams by looking at your cost structure. And, you know, if your costs are outweighing any kind of benefit, you might need to rethink what your products and services are, or what the value delivery is. So it's just kind of prompting you to think about all these different areas. And that's why we love this business model canvas, because it's a tool where you kind of think about all the different areas in your business, and you have a much, once you like I use it always, or I always say to students when we work at an idea stage, use it as a brain dumping tool, because it guides your thinking. It guides your, okay, maybe I don't know yet who like what my revenue streams is, but then you kind of work on that, and then you think about it, and then, you know, you work on okay, what else can I make? Are there other things? Sometimes they're triggering other ideas, you know, so use it as a brainstorming tool as much as use it as a driving force in your business. And you can always redo it. We always use post-it notes, lots of post-it notes, and just kind of play around with one thing is changing, or I actually don't like delivering on that. What else? How would it affect the rest of the canvas? Or if I want to add in whatever else, you know, look at what effect does it have on the rest of the business. Any questions before we move on? I hope that was a very quick. Yeah, Sola, you can. Obviously, a business pitch usually is quite short. So it's more about what your value, probably like the problem solution area is kind of coming from your value proposition. So you can use elements from the BMC for sure, because it's all driving in the same direction. So when you pitch, that's kind of what people are obviously looking for. What was the problem that you identified in the market, and what's your solution for it? And then therefore, you know, who are these people that you're serving, and how does the revenue cost structure, like forecasting and cash flow and whatever. So you can guide your thinking when you're creating a business pitch around the BMC for sure. Any other questions?
I think I would just chip in and actually say the reason that's a great question is because you're going to be doing it later today as well.
True, forgot about that.
So if you've got any other questions, either pop them in the chat box, or please do unmute yourself. We want you to feel free to kind of chip in at any time. So there's no questions at this point.
Okay.
Oh,
where do you personally start whenever you want to, like, just as an exercise, start building a business model canvas? So there's so many. I guess the value proposition would be the first thing to go, since it is the most important.
Well, I think you can start at any point. Yeah, you can really start at any point. I personally like to start with the value proposition and the customer, because that informs for me. So the two, which we kind of plunk out tomorrow and look at as separately, just because the two are so interrelated, and then it informs the rest. But that's just me. You can start literally at any point. If you have you use it, have it in front of you, and you think immediately, oh, cost structure would be this, this, and this. You start at cost structure, you know. So it's up to you how you want to do it.
I think the biggest mistake a lot of people make is looking at the revenue streams first, and you can spend a lot of time on Microsoft Excel doing very nice tables explaining how in the first 12 months you're going to run a $100 million company. But the reality is, unless you've got an absolutely outrageous idea, you still need to go back and think about your value proposition and your customer segment, because it may well be that your business can get to that level of growth. I'm not kind of ruling it out. Obviously, that's a very kind of aspirational target. But the reality is you don't know how you're going to get there. And often, you know, as an example, earlier this year, we ran the big pitch competition. We asked people to look at their finances, and sometimes I think expectation versus reality can be distorted. So that's why it's a risk of going into your revenue streams without understanding the rest of what your business model can actually look like, because that's where you can also actually ground yourself in reality as to what you can truly expect from your market segmentation, what they're willing to pay for things, you know, how many customers you're likely to acquire. So it's all of these factors. But I think Magda's right. I think starting with your value proposition and your customer segment allow you to build everything else. I think kind of after revenue streams, the second biggest mistake is people just looking at their marketing channels and just putting social media.
Yeah, yeah.
So biggest mistake people make is to assume the only way to get customers is using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know, there are so many other methods that you need to incorporate. You may share your time among them all, but typically when people just put social media down as a channel, it demonstrates they don't truly understand enough about how their customer want to find out about what they do.
And like I said, it's the 5 overarching channels. So channels is not just your marketing, but marketing is also not just social media. You need to kind of think of an integrated marketing strategy rather than, oh, I'm just going to be on Facebook. That's not going to drive it. But I think, yeah, in general, make it more about, I know this is about you and your idea, but make it about your customers. Who are you actually serving? Like, make it always think back to your customers. How can you make that value exchange for the customer? And then, you know, all the other areas kind of have always your customers in the back mind. I know we sometimes forget that. And it's so easy to forget when you're in the business and you kind of like, you know, running like the hamster wheel, but that's what you don't want to do the hamster wheel. So, and not get anywhere. So always think about your customers in everything. James, you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, only correct. No, just to concur. I think that the natural place obviously is that kind of focus on the right-hand side. I've worked with businesses where key resources have been the driver of the canvas. So they've looked at capacity within their business where they've got underutilized resources or where they have access to resources which are cheap, plentiful, and they've asked themselves how can they use those resources to create and manufacture or develop some aspect of their business. And it then becomes part of that process. So one of the customers that I worked with was a landscaping customer, and he had a load of equipment and machinery that he had sat idle in his on his site for large portions of the year. And the point was that how could we then utilize that capacity to then drive additional revenue streams within the business? From that understanding about what resources and capacity he had, he knew he had a marketplace that potentially could be used. Finding the channels was then the mechanism to connect the resources to those channels, finding the mechanism then to exchange value through rental, leasing, whatever it was that they wanted to do. And then ultimately that was the driver of the whole canvas and the whole idea. But at the end of it all, you're absolutely right. Whatever you do, if you haven't got a customer and you're not providing value for a customer, right, you haven't got a business. So that's the truth of the mechanism.
Cool. Yeah. Over to you, James.
Over to me. Okay. All right. So like we just sort of kind of alluded to, the canvas is a great place to start to think about your business from a holistic perspective. It may look kind of blocky and silos, and there's a reason for that, because each individual aspect of that business is about creating a common language of business that we can then utilize and share amongst ourselves and design our education and our learning through those particular, if you like, sectors. But what we ultimately think about, the business is the holistic perspective of that. The business is the overall system that's driving purpose within what you're doing, right? It's a life moving purpose. It's something which at the end of the day operates in a world of interconnections outside of it. So it sort of works in an environment, but internally, these are the mechanisms that ultimately drive that. So in terms of thinking about it from, say, a design thinking perspective, and design thinking is this human-centered activity that says what we're doing is we're designing something which is actually fit for purpose to humans and to our customers. So when we do that, we think of 3 primary categories of value that we look for within a business, and they are the desirability of the business, they are the viability of it, how it can work effectively, and ultimately the feasibility of how that business exists. And you can overlay those 3 dynamics onto a canvas, and you can think about it from that design perspective. So the next slide is that kind of the first part of the overlay, when we look at the desirability of the business, and we see from that perspective that everything that sits on that right hand side, as Magda said, I always like to use the metaphor of the theatre, where we're entertaining people, where we're building relationships, where we're thinking about the customer journey, where we're thinking about the value chain that we're driving and we're creating. All of that kind of stuff on that side, that's what makes your business desirable. And one thing that a lot of people forget in business is the fact that what you're doing is you're creating an experience, right? You're creating something which is memorable. And everything we do on the right-hand side, everything that we do within that area is about making people remember who we are, making people have some aspect of an experience and a value exchange. So the next area that we look at on that particular canvas is where we look at from that side tends to be the feasibility of the business. And ultimately, we ask ourselves that question. Has the business got the capacity and the resources to drive what's happening at the front end of the business? Do we have the capabilities? Do we have the skills? Where can we get those skills? Do we have the resources, the human, the social capital, the ecological capital? Do we have everything that we have in that particular area to drive the activities that help us deliver the value proposition to those customers through the channels that we've identified, and establish and build those relationships that we want, right? Do we have all of that activity? And one area that people don't focus on enough is on that key partnerships. And as Magda said, partnerships is a slightly weird way of looking at it, because it's not it can be a contract, it cannot, but it's about a collaboration. It's about working with people who share the values of the business and yourself, and who can align themselves to your business, and you can align your business to them. So there is a win-win situation in any collaboration. It's not about a financial exchange, it's about a value exchange. And that, at the end of the day, is where, right, you're kind of looking at key partners. Who can you find to work with, and how can you engender that level of trust within the partnerships to be able to make things happen? Partnerships, collaborations, joint ventures, projects that you're working together, they all add weight, and they all add a bigger footprint to the overall business. So that then looks at the final part of the thing, where we're looking at the viability. And this is where we're asking ourselves within the business, are we producing revenues that cover, or allow us to actually cover and grow beyond the costs of delivery? So are the benefits of what we're doing greater than the costs that we're providing? And ultimately, what we've got to be thinking about from that perspective is not just short-term transaction that exists, but relationships that go hand in hand with that. So the viability is deeply tied to the relationships that we have with our customers. It's about the cost benefit that we're providing for them. Costs are not necessarily low cost all the time. You can have high costs if you're driving high value, right? So luxury brand items, things like that, they tend to have a high cost structure, but ultimately they're driving a value exchange at the end of it. All right. So one area that we want to just quickly cover very quickly within marketing, we have this kind of concept of 4 Ps: the product, place, price, and promotion. Those 4 Ps exist within the marketing. If you Google 4 Ps, you'll find out where the source of the research. That's it. Look at that. Look at Feng marketing. Yeah, the 4. Okay. So this is very much about, where do these 4 Ps exist on the canvas? Now, I come from the view okay, well, let's just go to the next slide and we'll explore this. So ultimately, when we're looking at the first part of that, which is the product area, you can see from this perspective, right, the 4 Ps exist in every single block. The product exists in every single block. So now you've got the places, right? So places could be found through partnerships, right? We can extend relationships. Say, for instance, we had through a partnership with a local shop or provider to use their distribution or their place to be able to do that. Key resources, all right, in terms of places. We might want to use additional space to be able to do that. Where does the product fit? Well, the product will service. This is the, your value proposition. The whole thing about this is it feeds into the canvas. The 4 Ps of the marketing are the business itself. That is the message I want you to get, is that when we do this, when we think about it, so if you then go on to the next one, when we think about, for instance, the promotion, everything that we're saying, every element of our business sings the song of the business. It creates that brand. It creates everything that we do. Our pricing is definitely about our promotion. Our pricing is definitely about where our costs are. The pricing exists within the relationships we want with our customers. The customer segments, price matters to them, right? The proper value proposition matters to them. The product matters to them. Everything, this is about the canvas being basically absorbing all of the elements of marketing. So every aspect of what we're doing is an holistic perspective of the business. And the final one that we look at when we've got the place, the promotion, and the product is the price, right? So the driver of activity within our business, that level of activity, the price is all about, and it feeds itself through the canvas. So when you're talking and thinking about your business, there are 2 areas of activity that exist in your business that you need to focus upon, right? Marketing, because that is your business, and innovation, because you cannot stand still in business. So the bottom line of that is, right, both of those 2 elements add value to your customers. And that at the end of the day are the 2 areas that business is all about. Marketing, because it is everything within the business. And innovation, because it allows you to develop and change to the needs and desires of your customers. Okay, so that's really the message I wanted to get from that particular bit.
All right, thank you, James. So before we move into the breakout session, does anyone have any questions for James or Magda from that particular part? If you do, either pop them in the chat or unmute yourselves. Okay, so what we're now going to do is we're going to have a breakout session, and we are going to give, thank you, Magda, I thought it was good as well. We are going to give you about 45 minutes in a breakout room to create a very basic introductory business model canvas for the case studies that you have been given. So just a reminder, the breakout rooms are going to be Cracknell's Coffee Beans and Gordon's Gopher Sanctuary. And you should all have received emails with a little bit of information on. We want you to imagine you are the team behind these businesses, and you are creating these businesses from sort of scratch. So we want you to just very, very quickly think about the 9 different building blocks that Magda and James have just covered. We want you to think about those 4 Ps as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you, what was the time now? We're going to give you 45 minutes to work on your business model canvas. So if you've got any questions, you can leave the room, you can come back into here, you can ask the team questions. We're going to drop in and make sure you're okay at the same time. But we want you to, you can go, if one of you can share your screen, if you're able to do that, you can go to Google, you can find the business model canvas, you can download it, or you can just literally do bullet points next to each of those sections. So I'm going to open the breakout room, so you'll need to just click join to go through into those. Before we do that,
one
any
more thing,
questions?
Lisa, can we just outline once more who's in each group and which group gets which case study?
Yes,
because I think we had some people join afterwards as well. So
I'm just going to move. Okay, so in breakout room 1, which will be the coffee company, is going to be Aru and Company, Feng, MTEX, Neoma, and Solar. And in the second breakout room, the Gopher Sanctuary, It's going to be Abel, John, Francis, Gabriella, and Hadil. Okay, so we're going to give you 45 minutes to work on your business model canvases, and we'll come in and check to see how you're doing. So if you've got any questions, one of us will pop into the room. So the rooms are now open for you to join, and we will bring you back here in 45 minutes for a quick discussion, and then we will have a 10-minute break.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
All right, welcome back, everyone.
Hi, guys.
I think we're just waiting for the other breakout room.
I think everybody's back. 15, 16.
All right, how did you get on with that in what was about 45 minutes?
Felt like it was 20 minutes, but yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
So
we got everything except the cost structure pretty much done.
I didn't expect to have like so many ideas because like I thought that was like a lot of time, but then when time kept moving, I think that's when it started to feel like there was pressure. But yeah.
Sometimes that pressure though is good.
Yeah, it was good pressure. Yeah.
Not that I could ever endorse this, but I think sometimes, you know, at university, those best essays are the ones that you do maybe the night before. Not that I should ever recommend you do that. You should always allow plenty of time to research and write your essays.
Diamonds.
It does. Pressure does make diamonds indeed. And normally kind of something like this, you wouldn't do in 45 minutes. You might kind of space out over several days, several weeks, several months. It all depends on the speed at which you're moving your particular business idea forward.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to give you a 10-minute break to grab a drink, stretch your legs. And then James is going to go through a quick section on checking, does your business model canvas make sense? And then what we're going to do is we're going to mix up the teams. We're going to give you an opportunity to present your ideas to half of the opposite team and get some feedback. And then you'll kind of listen to their ideas and you'll give them some feedback. So we're going to give you an opportunity to work with some different people within your breakout room just before lunch. And then we're going to put you back in your original teams this afternoon. So yes, Feng.
I'm the only one with the PowerPoint that we made, unless they remember to save it using the annotate.
I didn't do that. I didn't see.
You could probably share screen now. We can take a photograph.
Yeah. Do you want to share your screen and someone can either print screen or this was a great idea in principle, but
those who were in the same group with Feng, take a screen grab now.
Yeah, I did. Okay. I think that's,
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm trying not to read it. I want it all to be kind of a nice surprise later.
I did.
All right.
Hold on.
Hold on. Stop sharing.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Done?
Everyone good?
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Bro, excellent. So I didn't
The
say
other
that.
group? What about the other group?
Does it have to be that neat?
No.
Not at all. I think
Ours
Hadil,
definitely isn't.
if you remember those presentations from the first Ideas Creation Weekender, you and I both know it's just about getting things down on paper sometimes.
Okay. So should I do the same then?
Yeah, please do.
So everybody who's been in Hadil's group, take a screen grab now. Love it. Not gonna read it.
Minnesota 9.
Okay. I'll stop Hadil from sharing. We will take a 10-minute break. So we'll be back here just for about 20 past, if that's okay, everyone. So 10-minute break, and then we'll go very quickly into our next presentation, and then we'll give you a chance to go back out into the breakout room. So we'll see you all in 10 minutes. Okay. Just very quickly then, everyone, what we're going to do now is James is just going to talk through sort of sense checking that your business model canvas makes sense. And then we're going to mix up the breakout rooms. So we're going to put half from the coffee team with half from the sanctuary. We're going to give you some time to present your ideas to each other. We want you to give feedback, ask questions, look for different insights. We want you to be able to share those across the different areas, because again, that level of input and that kind of external validity and external validation and questioning can really help to draw out new areas that we haven't maybe sort of seen before, and maybe where we've got blind spots. So I'm going to hand you over to James, and then we're going to put you back in the breakout rooms for a little while. So James, over to you.
Okay, cool. So you've worked on the canvas. You've got a kind of an idea and a representation of the business as it stands at the moment. The most important thing to remember with the canvas is actually it's about building a narrative to the business. So each of the building blocks that you've populated and you've thought about and you've developed, the whole concept between the canvas and each of those particular blocks is that what you're actually doing is telling a story between the businesses and between the way the business works and all of the relevant components. So when I was talking about how key resources would drive activities that would ultimately drive a value proposition, that had to find customers. That's the narrative that you're kind of looking to establish within the whole canvas thing. So the whole sense-making aspect of it is does that hold still? Can you still use the canvas to create that kind of narrative within the business? So one of the areas that you might find is if you've got holes, say for instance, so if you've got holes in the business, right, like this, say for instance, where you've got channels and you've got nothing in it, then ultimately that's a warning sign that there is a gap. Same with key resources, that you can't extol the narrative of the business. You can't talk about it from that perspective because you've got a value proposition, you've got customer relationships, which you've got no mechanism identifiable for reaching those particular customers. So it's a sense-making process. You've got to think it through from that perspective. So what we end up doing is then we look at each of these various things. We start populating each of those and build out the narrative for each of those particular aspects. And it's a really important part of the sense making. The other thing to think about is if you've only got one of something on a canvas, right, that's called an orphan. And if we've got an orphan, what we need to do is try and find a family. So ultimately, if that orphan stands out and it relates to the customer segments, and there are 3 customer segments, but only one value proposition, are your customer segments getting what the value proposition truly offers? Because a value proposition should be aligned to that customer segment. And if you've got different customer segments and only one value proposition, you're probably missing the point. You're probably missing some form of alignment. So what we end up having to do and think about is actually start to create those so that we build in this fit between where the value proposition is and the customer segment, right? So we're looking to identify each of those particular elements. And if we do that for all of them and find out where each of those are, then we're aligning that value proposition to the customer that we're aiming for. Do you get that? Okay, so it's a sense-making process. The other thing is that clearly in situations like today, there's a lot of words being bandied around, a lot of sentences to try and capture various things. I would always encourage you to think visually about this particular tool, right? It is a very visual tool, and the beauty of working in it with, say, for instance, in the physical world of stick-ups and post-it notes and all the rest of it, or statis or whatever they are, is that we move things around, and that's where we create innovation. That's where we create the questions that come into the business. What is the business as it looks like today? But if I change that customer segment and I lifted that customer segment off and that customer segment no longer existed, what if I replaced it with a new customer, say from the key partner side, and I brought a key partner over as a customer? Now all of a sudden, I'm changing the dynamics of the canvas. I'm changing the business model, right? I'm changing the relationships between each of those various things and modifying the value exchange. So that's the beauty of the canvas. That's the beauty of it being relatively simple in terms of at a high level and that granularity. So that brings me on to the other problem that a lot of people experience with canvases, is they hit them so hard with so many different things that you can't build the narrative out of this. You can't align the value proposition. So granularity, right, is great when we start talking about strategy and start thinking about how we make things come to life and how we make it work. But at the high level of the canvas around discussion and talking and thinking things through, we need to pare back that granularity and work at the kind of key priority areas. The other thing to remember in canvases is that colors are good. Colors separate what, a relationship. So a value proposition that's blue aligns to a customer segment that's blue. A change of color can also perhaps think about where it is in terms of innovation, right? So a blue staty or a blue sticky may represent what it is today, but a gold one may represent what if I changed something. Okay, so using colors, using visual things, keeping the canvas at a high level are much more impactful and valuable things to work with. It's a messy tool, and the messiness is it's why it works, because we can throw things at it, we can move things around, we can re-question, re-dynamic those particular areas. So that's really all I wanted to say in terms of, does the canvas make sense? Can you, at the end of the day, talk the business through? Create the narrative, the story of the business from the canvas at that high level. If you can, then the canvas works, right? The canvas then is an explanation of what you are about. It's there, right? It sits within the pitch. It sits within the business, the business plan. It sits within the strategy, right? But it's there within that process. Okay, cool.
All right, thank you very much. Krishna, do you have a question?
Yes, very quickly, while we were discussing our BMC, an activity like building, having a community and growing a tree and then engaging the customers, would that be part of key activities or customer relationship? Because we thought it's part of both, technically.
Technically, that again, there's no reason why there isn't any you don't have duality in various aspects. So channels and relationships could well feature within value proposition. Community building could well feature in the relationship, but it could also feature in the value proposition, and it can feature in the customer segment. Don't forget, communities don't necessarily encompass the value the customer segment that you're actually looking to drive revenues from. So a community is an activity, if you like, a funnel, part of that overall funnel of growing visibility, growing activity. So a prime example would be potentially where you've got a business. I'm just trying to think of a good example of a business where the community is wider, right? It's a community of practice. It's a community that's wider, but actually within that community, there are segments that are actually offering specific value. Right, so specific, kind of where you can drive revenues from. So you might have a community of people who go to a particular event, but never actually spend any money. But when they are at that event, that community becomes the driving force for activity within that space for that business. Yeah. So building communities is it's a noble thing to do, good thing to do within any business, but it's also partly pre-launch as well. It's about how you generate growth and visibility and eyeballs on what you do. But there's no reason why you can't have the same segment, same activity, same part of the business sitting in multiple different aspects of the canvas.
Thank you,
so long as the narrative holds.
Okay, everyone. So what I've tried to do best I can is mix up the two rooms from earlier. So there should be a couple from each team mixed in now with members of the other team. We're going to give you half an hour. What I'd like you to do is take 5 minutes to present one of the business model canvases that you've worked on, and then I want the team members from the opposite business idea to basically ask questions, provide insights, maybe think about things they've picked up on that may be relevant. So what we want to do is see kind of this cross-fertilization, not necessarily of ideas, but where you've all got strengths and maybe where there are opportunities to strengthen your particular respective business model canvases. Make some notes of kind of the comments that you receive or the questions that are asked. And then this afternoon, when we put you back in your original breakout room teams, you'll then have a chance to bring all of this feedback in, put it together into a pitch, and there'll also be a presentation later on as well. So we're going to give you half an hour, and then we're going to have a quick wrap up before lunch, and then we'll give you a break. So the rooms are open now. Hopefully this is pretty balanced. If not, do come back and let me know. But I think based on my notes, this should hopefully split them nice and evenly. So you've got just over 30 minutes. We'll see you in a bit.
So the next portion of the day will actually be a quiz. So we'll be testing your knowledge. You can expect business-related questions, some of them directly related to this session, some of them slightly more general. Either way, it is a competition. Try to do your best. We expect there to be winners, losers. So some of you might be familiar with Kahoot as a concept. For those of you that are not, I'll be displaying questions one by one on my screen, and you're actually all gonna need your phones. So in a moment, I want you to go to kahoot.it and enter this pin. You can do so now, actually. And as I said, questions will be displayed on the screen. Once you're sure of the answer, or even if you're not so sure of the answer, you're gonna have to indicate it with your phone, okay? You're gonna have between 20 to 30 seconds to answer each question. There are extra points for fast answers, so do try to answer those quickly. But bear in mind that only the positive answers actually get points. So answering quickly but wrongly won't really get you anywhere. Just a couple of things to bear in mind there. Okay, if I switch to the quiz.
Okay, so what you'll see on the screen will be the question and what the 4 answers could be, or if it's a true or false. And what you will need to do is, using your phone, you'll need to look to see what the answers are with the kind of the associated symbol. So it might be a circle, a square, a triangle, or a diamond. And then you'll need to push the corresponding one on your phone.
So does everyone get this? So it will become very apparent very quickly. I don't think we need anyone else. I think that's everyone. Okay, let's get going. So I hope everyone can see it.
Hang on, I'm not sure.
People can join throughout the game, so they can.
Okay.
So question number 1, it's a multiple choice question. What is the name of one of the biggest competitors to SpaceX? Is it Eclipse, Blue Moon, Blue Origin, or Ares?
You know, we had this question in our practice round and I can't remember the answer.
So the correct answer was actually Blue Origin. It was a trivia question, loosely business related, but let's see who's. Oh, so we've got our superstar Feng on the first place. Okay, let's see. Next question, true or false? It is required to have a separate business bank account as a sole trader. True or false? Oh, these ones are rolling in quick. Okay. I believe we're waiting for one more person. And some people had this wrong, but you actually don't need a separate business bank account as a sole trader. It is a misconception, but you don't actually need it. Yeah. Next. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Fang going strong on the first place. Come on, people, you have to catch up to him. He's fast, but we need to see more competition here. So next question, multiple choice. Which one of these is not a standard BMC section? not a BMC section. Oh, looks like all of you were listening. Well done. That's great. Good to see this. So first place, Feng. Second one, MTEX, whoever called themselves that. Third one, Magda. Is that you, Magda? Are you playing?
You said we were supposed to be playing.
That's good. Don't worry. Just don't cut everyone up. No, that's good anyway. And obviously we've got Gabriela closely behind and Juan right after. So let's go to the next question. So question 4, what information does the value proposition section describe? Bit slower on this one, people are thinking. That's good. Oh, so a significant majority of you got this right. Now let's see, do the rankings change? Okay, so whoever's under the name Jim Bob, you just jumped in on the leadership board, so yeah. Okay, next question. True or false? It is only possible to have one revenue stream. True or false? Ooh, okay, everyone got that one correct. The leaderboards do not change whatsoever. Let's see. Okay, let's continue. Another true or false question. Tax is a made-up construct akin to Santa Claus and a tooth fairy. True or false? Because each one of you got the last one correct. I don't expect any wrong answers here. Some people are lingering on that true or false button. Let's see. So Gabriella's back on the leaderboard. Apart from that, it's relatively stable. Feng is still obviously leading with 5,750 points.
If enough people put their thumbs up right now, we can kick Feng out for the next few questions, just to just to give everyone a chance. So I don't know, you know, we're not malicious in this group, but it can be done. I mean.
Okay, so hope everyone is ready for the next question. No, don't worry. Magda, feel free to play, don't worry. Okay, let's actually, if Magda.
Yeah, take me out. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. There's an additional place. So as a registered business type, what does CIC stand for? Slightly more tricky, perhaps not covered in this one. Ooh, so most of you got this correct. So well done. I assume a lot of you are obviously interested in starting your own community interest company. Now let's see how that affected our leaderboards. Oh, Gabriela is climbing up. There might be some catching up happening soon. And the next question, what does KPI stand for? Fast answers rolling in. Okay, so yeah, again, a majority of people got this correct, so it's key performance indicators. Now let's see how that affected the leadership. So we've got new people on the leaderboard. Jim Bob, if you don't start trying harder, you might get knocked out of the leadership table. So what is white labeling? So again, slightly more tricky for those of you that are slightly more business savvy. slightly slower on the answers there. Well, that one was slightly tougher. So a lot of people thought it was selling a product under a simple and plain brand. That is actually incorrect. It's selling a product that is brandless, so that other people can essentially put their own brand on it and resell it. Very popular with shops like Tesco, Sainsbury's, who obviously don't produce their own goods, but want their own brands on them. Let's see how the leadership got affected. So Gabriela is now in a second place. So stepping on Feng's sort of heels. Okay. Let's go to the next question. So what do the 4 Ps stand for? So again, for those of you that have been paying close attention to our previous presentations, you should get that one. Oh, that was a fast one. People answered very quickly. Only one person, I assume, having lost hope in winning, put people, penguins, and pirates and Pilates, but that's okay. We feel for you. So let's see how this affected our leaderboards. Okay, so MTEX is climbing up onto the 4th place. That was about the only change. Feng is still leading. True or false question, BMC stands for Business Canvas Model. This question was designed, let me give it away, to trip some of you up. Last answer's rolling in slowly, and the time is up. Okay, so we actually switched the order of the words around. So BMC is a business model canvas and not a business canvas model. Very close, again, just grammatical switches there. Let's see how that affected the leaderboards.
I should probably apologize because that was the question I suggested. So I was there determined just to try and trick some of you. So yeah, MTEX, I know your face says it all, sorry.
Okay. On to the next question. What is the name of the student co-working space you can use to run your own business from? Obviously when it reopens, but we're talking about University of Essex here. Do you know the name? There we go. So it is actually, so some people got that wrong. Some people thought it was, one person thought it was the Launchpad. Some people thought it was SpaceX, but it is actually Studio X. So we've got a co-working space. So once you get slightly more serious with your businesses and once obviously the lockdowns shift, there's a shared office space that you can use. A shameless plug in our quiz. Yeah, sorry, Magda. Yeah?
Cell Block Studios, I love that. So funny.
This is where we keep the bad entrepreneurs, the Cell Block Studios. Okay, let's see how that affected the rankings. Oh, Gabrielle is on the 2nd place again. Okay. Feng is still going strong. Hasn't shifted from that position. Well done, Feng. Well done. Next question. Which businessman would you associate with the UK version of The Apprentice? I think that there was a wave of fast answers and there was a sudden pause. Those are the people that are Googling it right now, I think. Okay, so it is actually Alan Sugar. Richard Branson is also known, but not quite for The Apprentice. Let's see how that affected the leaderboards. Okay, so Juan is back on it. What percentages of businesses fell in the first 2 years? So that one can be slightly tricky. There are a lot of statistics on this one, and I think obviously all of us heard, oh, how many businesses fail within the first year, but yeah, within the first 2 years, it's actually 50% of businesses. So half of businesses fell in the first 2 years. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, what a sudden shift was that. So MTEX, Juan and Jim Bob jumping up on the leaderboard. Gabriela, you're still hanging on tight, so don't give up. Feng, I assume you had access to some of these answers, but let's roll on. So how many building blocks does the business model canvas, I put that the wrong way. Yeah, no, actually I put that the right way. So how many sections does it actually have? Is it 7, 8, 9, or 10? Your BMC, how many sections does it have? Again, this is why we reward fast answers with extra points.
Is the
So, you know,
photo
some of you are probably peeking right now. So let's see. So it is actually 9 sections. So BMC has 9 sections, yeah. Okay, let's see how that affected the leaderboard.
I think the question that came in then, Christian, was did you use that picture to mislead people?
Oh, that. Oh.
I think there were 10 building blocks or 10 cubes on that photo. So I think
they know what a BMC is.
I think there's some dirty tactics going on there on your side of things.
So Gabriela is moving up. Obviously, Feng is still going strong. Let's go on to the next question. So you've got 4 questions to go. So a limited liability company is a hybrid of 2 types of businesses. Which ones? So that one is slightly harder, in my opinion. Nice. So most of you got this correctly. Corporate and corporation, I assume some of you answered that as a gag. But yes, it is actually a corporation and a partnership. So let's see how that affected the leaderboard. Cool, cool, cool. So Krishna is now coming up to the top 5. That's good to see. Okay, 3 questions to go. This is a multi-select one, so you can select as many options as you can, and this one comes for double the points. So which one of the following are not franchises? Remember, you can select between 1 to 4 answers. So select as many or, you know, as little as you want. Slightly more tricky. That's why double the points. And yes, so majority of you got this perfectly correct. So Nike is the only company that doesn't actually franchise the brand. The most well-known one to do this is actually McDonald's. Can't remember the exact figures, but they're well-known within the industry for essentially lending out or selling their brand to other people to use it as their own. So let's see how this may have shifted things. Jim Bob is back in the top 5. Apart from that, not much movement at all. Question number 18, true or false? In a corporation, when the owner dies, the company shuts down. So yeah, all of you got that correct. So it is false. The company obviously continues to function if the owner dies. It's almost as if it was an entity of its own. So that's the beauty of corporations. So let's see how that affected the leaderboards. Not much change there. And now for the last question. I don't see much room for, you know, bigger breakthroughs or flips in the leaderboards, but let's go. That one requires some factual knowledge. The particular, oh wait, no, sorry, that's question 19, my bad, not the last question. In particular channel in which goods move describes which one? Marketing, distribution, manufacturing, or capacity channel? Good, so all of you got that correct. So let's see, not much shift there. Okay, and then the last question, that one is the one that requires some factual knowledge. So the law which states that a small percentage of a group usually accounts for a large percentage of the result is, what law states that? Is it the Newton's law, Nelson's law, Pareto's law, or Freddo's law? Which one of these laws? Also known as the 80-20 principle. So well done. So most of you got that correct. Okay, so let's see how do the podiums look like. Unfortunately, we're only displaying the top 3 winners. But on the 3rd place, we've got Juan. On the 2nd, Neoma. And on the 1st place, surprise, surprise, we've got Feng. So well done.
All right, congratulations, Feng. Well done. It's clear that attending all of our workshops and sessions is really paying off. Now, for the rest of you, I don't like to use these words. Could you try harder? Yes, but you know, I'm not even angry. I'm just disappointed. But no, in all seriousness, that is just a bit of fun, just to sort of test your not to test your memory, but to kind of just get you to realize that it's only by learning these things and maybe trying them and reinforcing them. It's about how you become familiar with aspects of business, and doing business is about learning. It's experiential. You can't just learn about running a business by reading it in a book or reading autobiographies of people who've done them. You can learn how that happens for them. Doesn't mean it's going to be the same process for you. So it really is just about getting involved, taking that kind of big first step. And, you know, I think plenty of people have been guilty of either reading books or articles and YouTube videos and saying, oh, just one more video and then I'm going to know enough. There's never a good time to actually start a business, but it's all about taking the time to learn what you need to learn. And then when push comes to shove, you've just got to take that first step, and it can be scary. But I think overall, looking at kind of how good the knowledge is across the group here, I think we're starting to sort of take steps in the right direction. So we're going to hand back to Christian now. So for the afternoon session, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the napkin pitch. And then we're going to put you back in your teams to work on the original case studies that you had this morning, and you are going to do a pitch and a poster presentation back to the group. So Christian's going to talk you through the key things that we're going to be looking for when you give your presentation, and then we're going to give you some time in a breakout room to work on the next steps. So back to you, Christian.
Okay, let me make sure I have everyone can hear me, everyone can see the slides. Cool. Yep, so what I'm going to explain to you is a napkin pitch. Much like the BMC, it is a tool for you to look at your business from a certain angle. It helps you realize certain things, as you soon will come to realize. And I think although BMC does that quite well, the napkin pitch, almost by design, helps you communicate certain ideas about your business with a greater ease. So what is a napkin pitch? So as I said, it helps you communicate the key aspects of your business. The name itself, napkin pitch, obviously, is derived from a scene. Imagine yourself sitting at a dinner table. Maybe you meet someone who's quite influential, who you would want to partner with. You would want to start a business with this person, or you need their help in order to get this thing going. You whip up a napkin and this random pencil or whatever you had on you all this time, and you start drawing a grid on a napkin. And that is essentially a napkin pitch. It distills ideas. So because you're limited in space, because it is essentially this one-page document, you can only put key aspects of your business on it. That is specifically what is it that you're trying to do, who is it that you're gonna help, or who would be included in this business idea, who would be affected by it, how are you gonna deliver on that business, what are the exact steps, what do you need in order to deliver on that idea, and the why, as in why should anyone care about that business specifically? A bit of a sharp way to put it, but many people come up with business ideas that don't solve a problem or don't serve a specific need. You might think it's a good idea, but a good question to ask is, how will this solve a problem? Why would anyone buy from you in particular? If you're bringing in an idea that was already used, how are you different and why would people choose you? And again, the beauty is in its simplicity. Again, you're limited in the space. You can only get the key things across. And again, it's very different to a BMC because it gets you to think about your business differently. I would argue that a napkin pitch, of which there are several different versions of, but all of them, they get you to think about more than the BMC actually, they get you to think about your competition. I would say napkin pitch is very strong in that. And especially with our version of the napkin pitch, it can also be a bit of a call to action. When you finally get to put your idea down on it, you can set yourself goals. This is what I know I need to do or what I need in order to get this business going. So it's very effective as a tool, and I'd recommend doing it alongside your BMC. So to give you a more concrete example, this is what your napkin pitch would look like. You can give your concept a name. First section would be the big idea. What is it that you're actually trying to do? What is the big thought there? What is the big project? What are you gonna do? Second, the top right box, needs and benefits. What is the unmet need that you're trying to solve? Again, if you're coming with a grand, big original idea, how do you know that people will need it? If you're coming in with a classic idea, well, what will cause your potential clients to buy from you as opposed to your competition, for example? Who are the stakeholders? Again, this largely applies to your potential clients. Who is it that you're going to serve? Who will be obviously like touched by the business? Who will be involved in it? And how will the stakeholders benefit? How will the various parties derive a value from that business? The bottom left, execution, is pretty much all about how are you going to deliver on that business. All of us have grand ideas, grand business plans, really, elaborate ideas on how we're going to change the world, how we're going to start our own company. But when you get down to it, it's quite difficult to figure out how we're going to get there. And that's what execution is about. In our version of the napkin pitch, we put 90 days, as that way you look at, you can almost set yourself goals. Like within the next 90 days, if I was to push for this idea, what can I establish in those 90 days to get myself going? Other things in terms of execution you will look at are the long-term thing you need to start a business. So think about who do you need to partner with. I like to use graphic design examples. For me as a graphic designer, I might partner with printing shops because they're the ones that have all the equipment to print certain works, print on merchandise, etc., etc., etc. So who do you need to partner with for your business? And on another side, what asset or capability can you as an individual use or leverage in order to make this business happen? Again, for myself, I draw a lot. I know a bit about the field. I know how to make things look good. I might leverage that within my business. If you are a shop owner, for example, a print shop owner, you might be leveraging your equipment, etc., etc., etc. So it's all those things that you can look at and you can think, this will be the thing that will really help my business get off the ground. That will really get me far. And then the business rationale section, where the competition and all manner of other things come in. So this is where you ask yourself questions like, is there duplication between what I do and what other people do out there? Do you have competition at all? If you don't have competition, well, that's great, but are people actually gonna, buy from you? Are they gonna actually buy that service? If you do have the competition, what is it that you're offering that they're not offering? What would make, if I was to buy from you, whatever idea it is that you have, what would make me buy from you as opposed to another guy that does exactly the same thing? So think about overlap. Do other people do the same thing? What makes you uniquely capable to deliver the idea is another section that you should think about. So some of the best ideas are the simplest ones out there. The problem with simple ideas is that anyone else apart from you can come in, do the exact same thing as you. And if you're not established in the field, or if they do something better, they can cut you out. So think about what makes you unique. What about you or what is it that you have can help you deliver the idea as opposed to another person. This is often described as sort of obstacles to entry to market. My one in the graphic design business would obviously be my knowledge of graphic design. And not everyone can draw, not everyone can design things. So obviously that serves in my favor. Another important bullet point, think of your business and think about if you roll out this great big new idea or your business, how is your competition going to react? I'll give you a solid example in a second and it will make more sense. But again, if the idea is simple to implement, what stops your competition from doing the exact same thing and just matching the offer that you have? This is often actually related to new businesses when they start. Often people just think about charging less as a way to attract new customers. The way that your competition and the market as a whole is likely to react is they're likely to decrease their prices, which is obviously not good for anyone. People are bound to go out of business. And this is where we get led to our last point, is how will you sustain the advantage? Again, if all you're planning to work on is just a cheaper way of selling something and you have no way of producing it faster and cheaper than everyone else, so it's worth it for you, you're probably not going to sustain the advantage. So think about all of those things. In terms of a concrete example I like to apply, it's a little graphic design scenario I came up with. I'm not sure whether all of you are familiar with Canva. Canva is this online platform that helps you do essentially simple graphic design for your social media. I do recommend all of you use it if you're obviously starting a business and you're looking to create posts, but this is what this is based on. Applying a digital platform for creating tools into a classic graphic design. So my big idea is providing free templates and tools to create graphics for obviously my clients out there. All of the tools will be free. There'll be no freemiums as opposed to Canva, because Canva does provide you free tools, but they ask you to pay so you can, specialize it more. You can make it more unique. And my idea will be to make it all free, no freemiums whatsoever. But on the flip side, once those companies grow enough, the actual platform itself will function as a sales funnel. Again, I guess the idea will become more apparent in a second, but essentially, as a business grows, it's more likely to outsource the graphic design, and having given them the free tools to do it, they might recognize my brand, they might recognize it as something that they trust, they might recognize me as an expert in the field to create those tools, and they're more likely to choose me as a graphic designer or that company as a graphic designer. Needs and benefits, going back to the bullet points, what sort of unmet needs am I addressing? So again, the need to fulfill, so the need that I'm fulfilling is the need for free design tools that a lot of businesses, small businesses seek. And then later on, when they grow bigger, I provide a paid for professional graphic design tailored service that they can then outsource. The customers obviously then benefit first of all from free tools, and once scaled, they obviously benefit from having someone that they trust. Execution. So what do I need in order to obviously make things happen? How do I plan to deliver? Obviously, I'll be leveraging on my current understanding of the field. This applies to my experience within graphic design to create templates and tools, as well as the market sector, because obviously I know the market sector quite well. I'll partner with someone perhaps from the CSE to help me develop those tools. I might leverage on my current network of people that I know within software that are developing software, and I might leverage my current business networks, the business owners that I know, in order to start advertising. So that's the execution. That's what I need in order to make this happen. Business rationale. Is there a duplication within the market of what I'm planning to do? Obviously, because I'm a graphic designer and there's plenty of graphic designers out there, huge overlap. And because there's Canva out there and what I'm planning to do to build is obviously, again, huge overlap, is essentially I'm building Canva 2.0, but for free. But in each case, I'd like to think that I offer a little more. Obviously, from Canva's perspective, I'm offering professional graphic design that they don't cater to. And from freelance perspective, they don't have the access to software tools, so they don't have anything like that driving business to them. what makes me uniquely capable to deliver it is obviously, again, my knowledge. And this is where and then thinking on one of our other bullet points, how is the competition likely to react if I come up with a Canva 2.0, or how are the other graphic designers are likely to react? Thinking about it, graphic designers, due to obviously them not perhaps having the coding experience, they would probably not be able to do much, especially once I establish myself in the field and get the platform running. Canva, on the other hand, as a huge company, doesn't currently cover individual graphic design work. And in order to adapt to it, in order to react to what I'm planning to do, they would have to shift their business model quite a lot, which from my perspective as a business doing a napkin pitch seems quite unlikely. And then how do I plan to obviously sustain the advantage? I plan to grow the graphic design business along with the user base on the platform, one fueling the other and one sustaining the other, having two legs to stand on. So that was a practical example. I hope it wasn't too technical or too in-depth, but now you're going to have a chance to apply it to the case study. So take a screenshot of this. We're going to break you up into the breakout rooms where you can go ahead and do this now.
Okay, everyone. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you in breakout rooms for about 45, 50 minutes. We're going to give you a chance to work on your napkin pitch. And what we also want you to do alongside this is to create a poster for the case study that you had this morning. So if I can just check, hopefully I've got this right. So I've got Francis, Gabriella, Hadil, and Abel in a room together. And then I've got Feng, Juan, Aru, Ed, Krishna, MTEX, Neoma, and Solar together as well. I think those were the correct orders this morning. So we're going to give you, I'll give you 45 minutes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, come back, and then we're going to ask you to do both your napkin pitch and your poster presentation alongside each other. So is that clear? Does everyone know what they're being asked to do? Yeah. All right. In that case, I will open up the breakout rooms and we'll see you back here in 45 minutes where we'll have a quick discussion, then we'll take a break, and then we will be back for the last part of the afternoon.
Yeah, I recommend that each of you take a screenshot of this just so you have the bullet points there. Alternatively, we can, I guess, pop it over to you.
I had a question, if you want to go in quickly there. How does the tool help in terms, I think you must have wants to ask something else. So if you want to click.
Yeah, so I wanted to quickly ask, so, you know, when you use the tool, if it brings to your, if it helps, like, for example, the Canva case, maybe in the process of doing it, you realize that, okay, the two, maybe competition, or maybe the service is duplicated, or, so do you now go back to adjust it, or what do you do? If
not necessary. Again, because you have competition out there doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It can actually be really good because you know that there are customers out there that now want to buy whatever it is that you're doing. So it's not bad if there's duplication. When there is duplication, you want to make sure that you offer something extra. And you can get extra. So it doesn't mean that you have to, you know, scrap this idea, throw it away. It doesn't have to be that way. The trick here is that when you offer something more, you want to make sure, well, first of all, you have to offer more. And second of all, for extra points, optional, but very good for you to have, is if whatever you're offering is difficult for others to replicate. So for example, if you're very personal with your customers and all of them have an actual you know, attachment to your company, like they trust you, that's difficult to replicate because a lot of big companies especially, they can't sustain that.
Yeah.
Or if you have some sort of expertise, do other people have the expertise? Might prevent them to come into the same space as you are in. So again, it doesn't have to be that you scrap the idea entirely. It can be a good thing.
Yeah, just make updates and like make it include, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions at all?
All right. So hopefully everyone's got the option to join the breakout room.
Okay, I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So is the poster is based on the napkin pitch, or the poster is based on the MBC?
So the poster should be based on the napkin pitch, pulling in information that you kind of put into your business model canvas earlier today.
Okay.
All right, but you also had that opportunity to get the other group to give you some feedback and hopefully ask questions. So think about those extra things that they've spoken to you about, and then bring that into your napkin pitch and your presentation. This sort of in about an hour's time.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, I'll tell you what, we will get underway with the presentations. Hopefully Neoma will be back with us in a few minutes. So could I please ask someone from Cracknell's Coffee Beans, the case study, to either share their screen or unmute themselves and take the floor.
Frank,
Right.
could you share screen,
Yep.
please?
Yep. All right, let me just share it. All right, Cracknell's Coffee Beans. The main idea is that we're gonna go through with we're gonna sell coffee, and in the process, help regrow trees and sustain the environment while selling coffee. That's the literal main idea of the business. For every single coffee that we sell, a coffee bean that we sell, a pack of coffee bean that we sell, that we're gonna have a goal of planting one tree. I'm gonna tell you how we're gonna do that and how we're gonna engage the customers and keep them engaged with the business. All right. So the big idea. Two things: sustainable, carbon neutral coffee. So every single tree that we plant from a purchase of coffee beans will have a 10-year plan on it. They're going to monitor it for 10 years. And within 10 years, it's going to make back all the carbon that producing the coffee and shipping the coffee and delivering the coffee to the end user has taken up. And we're going to basically equalize that. And for each tree that we plant, we're going to monitor it. And we're going to have a database connecting the consumer, the customer that bought the coffee beans, to the tree, and an online database where the customer can view their tree growing in real time. The needs and benefits. The first one is for providing a means for the public to engage with environmental sustainability, because we've seen governments and organizations and businesses trying to tout this move to sustainable businesses. But there hasn't been a practical or direct approach, letting customers having a direct effect on it. So most of it's been donations and fair sourcing and stuff like that, not like this. Community. So when you buy a coffee bean from us, we'll give you from us, you'll be a part of a community that is environmentally focused and environmentally aware. And the third thing is we provide a method for people to express their values. Same thing. You see somebody drinking our coffee, you know what their values are. So that's a very important point. And so we're sourcing our coffee specifically from Peru. So we look with the local government and the federal government for the legal side of things, and the benefits they get, as they are a very important stakeholder in the transaction, is that they help sustaining their environment while making money from the exports. So it's like a win-win-win situation for everybody. And they're going to come back later in a further point. So in 90 days, what do you have to do? Because of the case study, we assume that the business has already been set up. So it's just the major functions that hasn't been optimized yet, but the business itself has been set up. So communication with the Peruvian coffee supplier, so establishing that communication line, having literally day-to-day communication, saying what sort of problems are you having, how can we help you to get the coffee beans into the target market as efficiently as possible. Establish legality and process of planting trees and monitoring on Peruvian land, since it's foreign soil. You have to get rights to do that, and you have to make sure that you're not infringing on any rights of the local government or anyone involved. And on the technology side of things, you have to set up the web server, the website, web apps, and customer database, and also HR to run the business. So this is the technology side of things. And on the physical side of things, you have to set up the storage and distribution channels. So warehousing and how the product is going to get to the customer. We're going to have to get some partners there, delivery partners, and establish network of key partners, which just goes hand in hand with everything I just said. And the business rationale. So we did some simple Googling, like suggested from everybody. And so far, we have not seen anybody that does this within the target market. So the target market, as you will see later, we don't see anyone offering this type of product and service. Most coffee companies, i.e. Starbucks, Coffee Beans, and Costa, have sustainability goals like us, but they usually express it through responsible sourcing and donations, and nothing is directly focused on the customer as this. Already established contact. So the way that we have an advantage is that we already have contacts in Peru, and the supply chain is ready. So they've agreed to do this, and we have agreements with the local government, not signed in yet, to do this. So we have a sort of establishment there. And the fear is that once they see that it's an effective model and customers have been engaging with the company, that other companies can just copy the model. So we have a plan to like go against that, which is basically, we establish a long-term lease agreement with the government, so that whenever somebody says, oh, you know what, we can get Peruvian coffee too, they go to Peru and then they discover, oh, wait a minute, you have an agreement. We can't really do this. You guys can do this. You guys have the rights to this. So they can't just, steal the market. And we provide, this is the big reason, we provide an inflation-adjusted minimum purchase price agreement with the coffee suppliers. That means that we will always have the best prices for the coffee suppliers, so they have no reason to source any other company. So it's like a exclusivity deal. I can't say the word right now. I can't say the word. I don't know why. But yeah. And then we can do that for other markets as well if we decide to source from other countries like Cuba or something. So this is the business model canvas. Straightforward, looking at the private propositions. Again, solidarity with social responsibility, sustainability goals, authentic carbon neutral coffee. That's a really good tagline in my opinion. That should literally be the tagline, second one. So our customer segment is a very small pie since it's a startup. Environmentally aware, European and UK, coffee addicts, enthusiasts. So why Europe and the UK? Well, very high coffee consumption, very high awareness of sustainability goals, especially on the government side of things. There's a lot of education being done, more so than any other countries and any other economic sector. So I think it's good to like focus on this segment first. And if we want to expand, we can do it later. And somebody pointed out that in China, they already do this, but none do it in the European economic sector. So it's very good that we target this market segment. Channels, the main places are coffee festivals, uni campuses, special events, and advertising with brand ambassadors for awareness. So searching for online personalities that are already environmentally focused. They already have a focus on sustainability goals, telling people what we need to do to maintain our survival on this planet and stuff like that. And website, mobile app for further details and product acquisition. So that's the next of the sales funnel. So the sales funnel goes from awareness to the website and mobile app, where you can look at what you get, how much you need to pay, when you're going to get it, how you're going to get it, where you can get it. Online, offline retail, that's how you're going to get the product. And then the last thing is the tree growth monitoring program, which is the main idea, which is when you buy the coffee, you get an option to create an online account where it's a very personal account with stats on it. The most important one, which is the tree tracking. So the tree that was planted with your money that you paid for the coffee, a portion of it will be used to plant the seed for the tree and also plant the tree and also monitor it for a cycle of 10 years. And yeah, and for each coffee you buy, your stat increases. And we're going to have more elaboration on that. So just imagine every time when you buy it, they give you an option. Do you want to make an account? If you already have made an account, enter this code or scan this code, and we'll add the tree to your account and we'll grow the tree. And so text chat for after sales inquiries, no more online booths, just use the internet. Online account to access video feed of tree growing and keep track of all trees planted. That means that if you bought 100 packs of coffee beans from us, or packs of coffee from us, like you're gonna have 100 trees growing, and you can literally look at them grow in real time, just like that. So that really, and it incentivizes people to engage with the platform, engage with the business, engage with the product for collection growing, and how much impact you're giving. and an email newsletter for updates, an optional one, of course, so we can engage with them. So every time we have a new product, we can like, look, new product, you want to buy this? This is now not just Peru. It's like, I want to do that. Let's go. Customer loyalty program, just like any other coffee servicing company. Oh, sorry. So for our online account members only, into the online service, which is the main idea of the company, right? So it's just like, if you create the account, we're going to give you loyalty programs, we're going to give you all this type of stuff, personal stuff. And that all goes into the personalization of the product, which is what a lot of companies are trying to do right now, which is what I think a startup has the strength of doing, which is that we start from that. We don't try to, you know, introduce personalization after the fact, right? We have the idea from the beginning. You have an account. You're going to stick with us for the next 10 years. You're going to buy a lot of coffee from us, and we're going to work together. So the key activities is coffee supply chain management. Simple as that. It explains itself. Marketing and customer engagement through social media and offline spaces. So I already told you how we're going to engage with customers on offline spaces, working with institutions, events, coffee festivals to build awareness. And 3, growing monitoring and database. So I've already said that, like what we need to set up basically is just webcam on every tree, lease agreements, land agreements with local government, and everyone gets benefits from that. And the last thing, which is somebody came up with the idea for this, more personalization. So on the account, right, on the website, we have a leaderboard to gamify tree growing numbers across customers. So you can see amongst everyone in the UK, for example, how many trees each person has planted just by buying coffee from us. So let's say somebody says like, oh, I'm on 4th place, but if I want to get to 3rd place, I'm 10 trees away. Anybody want coffee? I'm going to buy you coffee because I really want 3rd place. So anybody want free coffee? I'm just going to buy you coffee to get to 3rd place. So it's really good for customer engagement, a leaderboard system, and you can like make it smaller. You can have like a UK one and a European one and the worldwide one, global version. So it's really good for customer engagement.
All right, Feng, sorry,
yeah.
Just conscious of time. Do you think you could wrap up all of this in the next kind of minute and a half, just to give the other team an opportunity?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll just speed it up. Yeah, sorry. So key resources: farmland, internet technology, cash capital. You need to buy coffees with that. People that we work with, and people we have inside, or web service, technology side of things. Key partners, same thing. Suppliers, brands, ambassadors, non-government organizations, which are very savvy on this. Education institutions like universities and stuff like that. Web hosting services. Webcam production company. So instead of buying webcams, we just work with a webcam hosting company, get free webcams, and then help them advertise through our company. Local internet networking company, so get good internet for the Peruvian side of things. Revenue streams, online retail sales, very straightforward. Event promotional sales, which is what I talked about with the loyalty program and special events. Government grants and tax breaks for sustainable activity, very important. This is also why we chose the UK and the European side of things, because they have a lot of grants and tax breaks for people who are doing this. That's what every single company is doing. They don't do it for no reason. Okay, so membership sales, same thing. Push customers into the online funnel, more engagement with the customers. And cost structure, coffee purchase expenses, straightforward. Shipping, straightforward. Tree growing monitoring expenses, so webcam, internet, web hosting expenses included in that. Salaries for our workers, and marketing material, which is a key component because of our focus on brand awareness. And yeah, thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Very good breakout room number 1. So now we're going to go to breakout room number 2. So could I please ask Feng to stop sharing your screen and ask someone from the Gopher Sanctuary to step forward.
Francis, do you want to share your screen? Or no?
I assume we're having technical difficulties. Just give it a minute, yeah. If I might comment in the meantime, just to give I think France more time, the thinking of persuading the government to like corner the coffee market, that's some international level corp thinking. I'm thinking it's like, yeah, we're gonna go to the government, we're gonna tell them not to allow anyone else to do it. That's like it's politics you're getting into there, but yeah.
Okay. Hold
I think
I'll share my, I'll start with the napkin pitch, which I already have. Sorry, just a sec. Yeah, is that good? All right, so we started with the big idea, trying to put it into like simple terms, and it's an opportunity to spend time and learn about the gophers by helping to preserve their community. Not sure if we want to share the BMC as well.
I don't think that's a requirement, is it, Andy? It's not.
Okay, so the idea is that we are trying to sort of build a community around it, and to sort of connect people who are whether it's like family or like families who are who've got like small children or young children, or outdoor enthusiasts, or generally anyone who's a nature lover or who wants to help preserve nature. So what we are providing is for them the opportunity for them to connect with the community, and to get them to sort of participate in an immersive experience where they can go and stay in a sanctuary. They have the ability to stay, like they have accommodation, activities such as like feeding the animals, petting them, sort of becoming a keeper themselves for a day. And the thing is, like, we don't think that there's the opportunity to do that. So it's already sort of unique. And so especially if it's accompanied by all the sort of range of other activities that we'll be doing. We thought that the competition could be other sanctuaries, not necessarily gophers, but like in general. But we said that they can also be partners, as we would be hosting, like sort of building partnerships with them to either like host events or to share to get like we thought of maybe advertising our own sanctuary in other sanctuaries, or get advertising for other places, other wildlife trusts or organizations, allow them to sort of partner with us to also advertise on our sanctuary. And again, going back to the idea of building a community, that would be sort of the way we sustain the business or the project, because it's it allows the users to sort of see the impact. So we're planning to sort of build an application where they can see the impact in the community, and this way, by seeing that the difference is being made, the retention rate will be our means of sustainability. And for execution, we said we'd start with, well, it's already again established, but to sort of expand that market, we'll start with marketing initiatives to raise awareness and to create partnership, like I said, with other wildlife reserves and any other organizations with the same purpose, and to sort of also leverage the current trainers and like allow them to either like train people or staff to sort of how to keep the animals, how to look after them, and also share this knowledge. We said we could build like a sort of online platform where we can share videos about the animals, about their habitat, sort of building an educational side to it as well. I don't know if Gabriella or Francis want to add something. We had a poster, but I'm not sure. We didn't have enough time to finish it.
Yeah, I don't know if
I
anybody
can
had.
share it again. It might make more sense.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
If you stop sharing yours. And then... Yep, so not, but here we have spend time with gophers whilst helping to protect their community for outdoor enthusiasts, families, eco warriors, and fun lovers. So try to put some in there, some things in there to make it clear what it is, but just to start. Yeah.
All right, very good. Thank you very much, everyone from breakout room number 2. So if I could just ask, if you are able to, could I just ask Juan, Aru, and Ed to join us, and Sola just to turn your cameras on just for the last kind of 5 minutes. I want to start by saying that when you factor in the breaks, when you think about everything that you've done today, you have essentially created a business model canvas for a company you knew nothing about in about 2.5 hours. So that is not an easy thing to do, and it is not something that we would often expect you to do. Like I say, sometimes these things might take days, weeks, or months, and actually you get to a certain point and then you have to revisit them, and then things change. You often hear the word pivot in business, or kind of redirect, or kind of change direction. But your business model canvas helps you to understand what is going on at any given time. And I think, again, just to sort of say, to have created something within about 2.5 hours with a presentation and a pitch, I think is no mean feat. And I think you all shouldn't underestimate the effort that it can actually take, not just to understand the business model canvas the way that you all have, but also how you've applied what you've learned today in terms of creating those. So I want to say thank you very much, and sort of well done for that, because it's not easy, and hopefully working in teams has really helped to draw out your knowledge and understanding of maybe some sections where you weren't as familiar, or concepts that you weren't as strong in. I notice Abel is just joining us, and I'm probably about to announce the more exciting part of the Weekender. So we are going to close for today. This is an opportunity for you to ask any questions of us. Tomorrow, we're going to have some time with some presentations, but what we're going to do is ask you to work on your own business model canvas tomorrow. The one change we're going to make is that you're going to be working on your own businesses. And if you would like to, you can do the napkin pitch. We're going to ask for no more than 90 seconds to cover those sections tomorrow. And we will, as a group of the Essex Startups team, we will choose 3 businesses who will receive £250 funding each to hopefully kickstart. Yeah, now you're listening. Now you're listening. There we go. Suddenly, I just saw people go.
Yeah, the smiles on people's faces. I just saw people light up. It was pretty much this.
Oh, Solar's back. We would just assume he's been there the whole time. But yes, what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to go through a few aspects around understanding your value proposition as well in a little bit more detail. Magda's going to be talking about one of our favorite points, which is Simon Sinek's Start With Why. So we're also going to move you around rooms a lot more tomorrow. So you'll probably have about 10 minutes to work on each section. So we're not expecting it to be completed, but we're going to, with everyone who attends tomorrow, we'll try and mix it up. So you might spend your session on customer segments with one person, and then you're going to be talking about your revenue streams with someone else. So it's designed to get you moving around, hearing each other's ideas and opinions. So it's going to be really quick interactions, but it's just designed to give you an opportunity to hear from other people who may be slightly further ahead or have slightly different interpretations. And then we're going to give you some time at the end of the day to work on your own napkin pitch. And then you're going to have an opportunity to pitch it for cash. That final bit is entirely up to you. It's only if you feel comfortable. If you don't feel that you're ready, that's absolutely fine. It's not to put anyone on the spot. But also we want you to recognize that actually this is a safe environment to pitch in. Everyone who's attended today, and I'm sure if you are all able to join us tomorrow, we want to hear each other's ideas. We want to kind of give them the opportunity to share what brings us all together and has that kind of common interest of actually starting our own businesses. So tomorrow, that's going to be how we approach the day. What I'd like to do is kind of just have a few minutes for any Q&A that you may have. And then I'm going to go around the team for kind of final thoughts. And what we do have as well is a feedback form, and we're going to post the link into the chat box in a minute. If I could just ask you please to complete that, just let us know. We recognize things are tough over Zoom. It's not the way we would ideally do things. We are huge fans of the face-to-face because it means we really get a chance to kind of get that buzz and atmosphere. And we know that lacks a little bit over Zoom. But anything else we can do to improve that experience for you, we would really value any feedback. So please, if you can, do take the time to let us know what's good, what's bad, what you liked, what you didn't like, because depending on how long we find ourselves in these circumstances for, it means that we can look for alternative ways of hopefully delivering some of the content you've enjoyed today as well. So over to you all. I think MTech, have you got a question?
Yeah. Once again, thank you very much for today. And I just had a question in regards, like, with communicating, like, is there like an Essex startups group chat, and like in terms of improving the communication channel between like us as the people trying to engage with you, basically teachers, I would say, or people trying to inspire us to do the best we can and starting up our own businesses? And yeah, I just wanted to know if there was like that communication channel, like other than like connecting on LinkedIn, but like, is there like anything like a group chat or anything like that?
You know, this is the kind of area where I'd be quite open to hearing different people's thoughts on how we can do this. Now we have to, unfortunately, there's certain aspects we have to be careful around data and kind of data protection. So if people kind of would be interested, like I say, I know there's the Essex Entrepreneurship Society, but if you would like a more closed group, and again, we never can really find kind of the ideal solution for everyone. You know, we can explore if people think something like a Facebook group might work, if, you know, using kind of the app like Telegram, things like that. But we have to do it in a way that everyone's sort of comfortable with the environment that they're in, with being able to be connected with others. I'm just thinking of the paperwork that's involved with this. I'm looking at Christian. Good luck, Christian. But no, it is the kind of thing where, you know, we're not always aware of kind of the best ways to keep people connected and to communicate with everyone. So we're open to suggestions. So if you could put something into the feedback form, if there's anything you can think of, or, you know, open to everyone about how we can do that in a better way. You know, we are literally all ears to see what else we can do to improve this experience for you.
I can just mention, we've done this before on Slack. I don't know if that's like a good platform for connecting with different groups, but I don't know how it works around like information protection and all that.
Yeah, so again, you know, if we've got a few different ways we can explore, we can see what the best one could actually be. So thanks very much, MTech and Hideo. I think Krishna?
Yeah, just wanted to add two things, one suggestion and one question. We could have a platform on Career Hub, because we log in even after you graduate, and there's an enterprise section. So if we could have the backend built into that, we can log in and find the forums, and we could have different breakout in terms of subjects or events or whatever. Just a thought. Like Moodle equivalents, something like a Moodle. The other one is a question that Christian said, the napkin is more focuses towards the competition. So my question was, both the teams what we mentioned as how do we ensure that we have the advantage? How do we keep the competition away? Obviously, from coffee and Gophers, it's pretty much possible to duplicate, with deeper pockets. You can have longer term contracts. Or we could, be a hostile takeover. Anything is possible. So, what's the idea here? How do we tackle that?
It's hard. I may just say before I answer, hostile takeover is one of Essex Startup's favorite words. But on a serious note, you can't really make sure that the angle that you're taking, it's a bit of a sad truth, but you can't really make sure that the angle that you're taking won't be replicated. You can, I mean, if you look at companies out there, what people in established industries do is they'll create obstacles themselves, or the way that they'll go about running their business, they'll make it hard to enter. So there are qualifications, there's certain equipment, perhaps if you're working with higher quality products, etc. So you'll notice, like obstacles there. But I wouldn't say there's necessarily something that could place you in an industry and then make sure that you wouldn't be removed. Maybe the closest thing to it would be just having a good contact with your client, I think, is the closest to it. Apart from that, unless one of my teammates can throw something in.
I think that there's two things there. One of which is that in any business, your objective is to keep refining what you're doing, is not to stand still, is to have the sensors of your business out into the public area, into the arena, working all the time. So you rely on working with your ears and eyes open to what the competition, but what ultimately your clients and your customers are thinking. Because the thing about businesses is once we establish and solve a particular problem, we're constantly evaluating the next problem. It's an iterative process. And when we stand still, the problem is that then ultimately people will come up and they'll consume what you're doing. So you've got to be in business constantly thinking about the next thing, the next aspect of my business that will take me closer to my customer or to a new segment or to new areas. The other aspect of it is that what differentiates people is not necessarily what we do, but ultimately, and we're going to be covering this a lot with Magda tomorrow, the values and the purpose and the drivers of the business. That is actually where differentiation materializes. So if you've got a business with a clear set of drivers, a clear value and a clear set of values that it lives by, then those values will be very different to what anybody else will actually be able to provide. It is irreplicable that everybody comes with the same history, the same package, the same ultimate goals and aims and ambitions within a business. So that's where we constantly look for differentiation. What we do, yes, that can be replicated, but why we do things, that can't. So that's the bit at the end of the day, which that and the constant drive towards innovation and value creation for our customers, those are the two areas where we create differentiation and distance between ourselves and other people. The hardest job of that, and going back to, I think, what Feng was talking about at the beginning of this, is how does that work from a startup perspective to an organizational perspective? And one of the hardest transitional processes for any startup is, as it grows, how does it maintain those set of core values within that, the culture that it absolutely starts to materialize and generate within its business. So those are challenges, but that for me is where you create that differentiation.
Thank you very much.
And I think as an example, a little while ago, I don't know how many of you maybe kind of understand or follow something like CrossFit or just know the brand CrossFit. Globally well-known, built around communities, built around the values of the guy who started it, whose name escapes me right now. He made a comment through a tweet and straight away was dropped by major brands. Nike, Adidas, Reebok wanted nothing to do with CrossFit. They were willing to walk away from having that link because this comment cast a negative light on CrossFit, which they were associated with. People were on Twitter saying, I don't care, I've paid for my year-long membership. I don't want to be associated with a brand whose owner speaks in this way or kind of talks and communicates with this style. And that's the difference. There were lots of brands beforehand who were probably trying to break into that exercise market, but couldn't come close to CrossFit because they'd already built up that reputation about the values being kind of integral to the community. And suddenly you see the person at the head of the community actually doesn't truly possess the values that he's been espousing, and it can unravel really quickly. And I think he had to walk away, and now obviously they're looking at almost kind of disaster relief or kind of response to exactly that. It was a nightmare for the company. So being honest and true to yourself, I think, is always the most tangible way to build trust and belief from your customers in your own reputation. And it's something that, you know, we cover through various kind of different value exercises. But if you're not doing what you truly believe in, when the cracks start to show, people will see that as well. So any other questions around things we covered today, or anything you'd like to know about tomorrow, apart from how do you get the money into your bank accounts? Feng, yeah.
I have a question about the video pitch. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So the video pitch for the 10th of January, is there a suggested format for it? Because there's many ways you can do the video pitch, right? It's either you can be in it, just your talking head, or it can be a presentation with the recording on, with a voice recording, or should I be wearing a suit, giving a very formal presentation using green screen? Like, what should I be doing?
I tell you what, Feng, if you drop an email just into the startups inbox, what we'll do is we'll arrange for a member of the team just to catch up with you to discuss that, because it's very, very kind of relative to the startup visa. And we'll cover that at a slightly different time. Is that all right? We'll give you plenty of notice though, so don't worry. You'll still have time to get your suit dry cleaned before you wear it for that video.
Right.
All right. So I'm just going to ask everyone to from the Essex Startups team just to kind of give their final thoughts, and I'm going to share this, which James sent through to me earlier. He was making notes about what you were saying at the start of the day that you hope to get out of today and tomorrow. So I'll tell you what, we'll go to James first.
Yeah, no, for me, it's a really good day. I think the final bit was great because there's a lot of enthusiasm, thinking, a whole host of different thinking we're going into those particular tools. All I would kind of reiterate out of anything that we've discussed, the tools that we provide, the business model canvas, the napkin pitch, and when we look at the VPC tomorrow, the value proposition canvas and all the rest of it, these are tools that help you understand the conversations that you need to be having within the business. They are not they are not kind of tools in which you feel like, oh, I've got to fill this in today and I've got to tick a box and I've got to do that. But these are tools which ultimately will open pathways to different thinking that will create that level of differentiation within your business. And the other thing to say about this is that so many businesses don't go through this kind of process. So by going through this kind of process, by engaging with these things like this, what you're actually doing is becoming, vastly better at being entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial. So yeah, great. It was a great day from my, from a learning perspective from my side. And I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. So thank you very much indeed for your enthusiasm and engagement once more. Thank you.
Thanks very much, James. We'll go over to Christian next.
I guess I just want to encourage you all to get involved more, letting you in on some inside information. There's an odd disparity. We have a lot of people coming to our events, and then we've got a lot of people engaging with us in other ways, and they're not always the same people. In fact, it's a bit weird how they just split apart. Apart from doing events, we do one-to-one sessions. We have a community of other students who have started their businesses and are working on their businesses. And we've got a lot more on offer. As I said, especially after lockdown lifts, we've got this awesome space that you can come in, you can meet each other, you can work on your projects. as an actual physical space to develop your business, and do it, because it is always weird seeing people in our event and then not seeing them in space, or seeing people work in a space but not attending our events. So yeah, like, come and do that. And equally, that way you also have your community. Why create chats when you can meet, other people doing the same thing? So yeah, get involved.
Thanks very much, Christian. We'll go over to Magda next.
Yeah, I absolutely loved today. I think you all were really engaged, and we can only, you can only get as much out of these things that we talk about or teach in a very broad sense. We're not teachers, but in the sense what we talk about, you can only get as much out of it as you put in. And I think all of you really put in everything today, so I really enjoy that, and thank you for that. And sometimes with smaller groups, actually it's so much more engaged because people are there for a specific reason, and you get what you want out of it, hopefully. But like seeing all your pictures in the end, I think you were exactly spot on. And if you come to tomorrow, and I obviously hopefully and get I want to encourage you to come tomorrow and work on your business, because then that's actually where you apply all the things that we always ramble on about at BMC. Now you've had it a little bit in a practical sense, but tomorrow you're going to actually apply it to your own business, and we are there to also help you with that. But yeah, so I absolutely loved it. And on the competition side, wanted to just, because before we talked about price and competing on price, never ever compete on price. Just want to drill that in right there, because pricing, that's the death of you. If you start competing on price, compete on value, differentiate yourself with the value driven drivers, and like what James was saying, like if you have particular values you stand for, and your business is all about those values, and you have that value exchange with your customer, and always think about your customer, not about yourself, that's when you make a difference. And yeah, never price, never. Alrighty, cool. But see you all tomorrow, hopefully.
Thank you, Magda. I should also point out that Magda's walked about 10K today on her walking treadmill whilst doing some of these presentations. So good for you, Magda. So we'll go to Alexa.
Yeah, just to echo what everyone else has said, really great sessions. It's really good to see how well you've been interacting and engaging. Like Magda said, we're here for you. The more you put into it, the more we can help you and you can get out of it. And just a reminder that a lot of times in small business, you need that confidence boost. And just to remind you that none of your ideas are ever wrong. Nothing is going down the wrong track. We're here to guide you. And you're obviously all really keen and willing to do this. And we just want to help you build your confidence in that. And just remember that all these tools that we offer you, and again, there's no wrong or right answers. It's just to help you learn and progress further and understand yourself and your ideas and values. And we're just here to hopefully draw that out of you as much as we can. So yeah, hopefully see you all tomorrow, and well done for today.
Oh, lovely, thank you very much. So the final ask from myself is that just in the chat box, I've shared the link to the feedback form. If I could please ask you just take a few moments once we end the Zoom call for you to let us know, like I say, what you thought about today. I'd like to just close by saying, again, we recognize sometimes our events have kind of bigger numbers, and having this level of interaction and feedback and opportunity for you to kind of get involved with the conversation doesn't always happen. It's been an absolute pleasure today. You've been the perfect group to actually kind of have getting involved, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. You've actually if anyone came to the Ideas Creation Weekend, you might remember that actually the team, as we went into the breakout rooms to actually kind of see if we were needed and start and provoke those conversations. We didn't need to do that. And the reason we didn't need to do that is because you guys are starting to get it. You're starting to understand it. You're applying it for yourselves. And it comes back to what Alexa said, have the confidence to keep doing that. As also Christian sort of said, engage with us in other ways. I think we've seen a lot of you for one-to-ones, but for those of you that we haven't, please book in. We're here to help. As much as I've mentioned again that there will be this opportunity tomorrow, there's also going to be further funding opportunities starting in the new year. So please do stay in touch with us. I'm not going to say what they are just yet, because I don't think I think you won't. We won't see you until the new year if I tell you what they're going to be. But if you have got any questions, please do let us know. Like I say, please do complete the feedback form. It'd be really helpful. But I just want to say thank you very much for your efforts today. It is difficult over Zoom, but you've shown once again just what can be achieved by working together. And I want to say, go take your well-deserved evening off. Gabriella, I don't know what time you started in the morning there in Ecuador, but go have a nap, do what you need to. But yeah, it's absolutely lovely to see you all. Hope to see you all again tomorrow. We'll be starting at 9:30 again, and hopefully we'll see you there. I'm happy to stay on for 5-10 minutes if anyone's got any further questions. But
Is it the same link, Andy? Is it the same link?
Same link for Zoom?
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry,
it should
yes,
be.
for tomorrow.
Yes, it is. But Christian will share the link again by email about 15 minutes just before we're due to start again. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to hang around. But failing that, thank you very much, everyone. Go and have a well-deserved break, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.